Today's show is brought to you in part by Squarespace. Whether you need a portfolio to showcase your work, a store to sell your products and or services, or even a blog to share your ideas, Squarespace gives you everything you need to make your next move into a reality, including a free domain. Not to mention with Squarespace's beautifully designed templates and customizable features, creating a beautiful website is a simple and intuitive process. Simply add and arrange your content with the click of a mouse. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and enter the offer code BOMBCAST to get 10% off your first purchase, plus a free domain with the purchase of an annual plan.
Hey, it is Tuesday, March the 21st. 21st.
Sure.
21st?
Spring has sprung.
21st.
Oh, shit, it did.
I think
so.
it's the 21st, 2017. It's the Giant Bombcast. I'm Brad Shoemaker.
Hello. Posture is important. I'm
Sit
shoulders back.
Sit up straight, Jeff Gersman.
Yeah, trying to.
Jason, how's your back doing?
It's doing great, actually.
Yeah.
I've been in physical therapy for months
Oh,
now,
wow.
and now we're starting to reel back on
Rebuilding your
on
spine?
stuff. Yeah, just getting
Yeah.
it strengthened up and stuff, and
Yeah.
it helps a shit ton.
Yeah.
I've moved on to the harder roller pads. They've got these rollers
Like a foam roller, kind of roll it out kind
exactly,
of thing?
yeah. So the first day that I was in there, they put me on one of those, and it's like, no, this hurts way too much. I can't do it. So they got me an older model, which is squishier, which is actually for the elderly people.
Nice.
What is this? It sounds like a rolling pin for bread.
Yeah, kind of.
For your
yeah,
back?
but it's smushy. and
Does someone
stuff.
else do it to you?
No.
You lay on it and move.
Oh,
Right.
right.
Yeah, you just kind of switch back and forth and
That's
stretch
weird.
stuff out. It helps a ton. But just yesterday, I graduated back up to the normal
Nice.
roller. I'm
Yeah,
so
my
happy.
wife runs a lot, and
right.
her knee messed up. She had to get a roller for that and kind of do all that stuff.
My neck still hurts from that MMA fight I had with Lang on his bed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Or his couch, as he said.
I'm
man.
trying to remember that.
Yeah.
That whole night got a little blurry at some point.
did.
I remember hearing about that happening, but I feel like I was preoccupied with some other dumb shit while that was
Right.
going on.
Yeah, I had him in like some sort of arm triangle or like with his head. I don't know. I was trying to choke him out with my crotch or something. But yeah, I woke up the next morning. I mean, we went to bed the next morning. And
yeah.
then woke up the next day and it was like my neck could not work.
I walked a mile in like 2-degree weather.
In, like,
but the sun was up. It was like 7 a.m. So I was just like, oh, look, it's all bright outside, Boston. Let's get out there. And then I'm like suddenly stumbling up the street, like still pretty drunk, 7 in the morning.
I slipped on the like 200 yards from that bar to the hotel. So I don't know how you managed to make it home without like
I was walking very
busting-
carefully.
Right, yeah.
Like, just, yeah.
You know what they say, until you've walked a mile in Dave Lang's shoes.
Yeah, well,
These
yeah.
are big shoes, clown shoes.
The Internet's Danny O'Dwyer.
What's up?
Hello.
How you doing?
Here for your annual post-St. Patrick's Day
Yeah, I know.
extravaganza.
Need to check in with y'all. Make
Gin-
sure you had a good time on St. Paddy's Day.
Paddy.
2 D's.
Genuine
Two
Irishman
Ds.
here in the studio.
Yes, bona fide. 70% actually.
Yeah?
I did one of those
Oh,
DNA tests.
I saw you, yeah.
Apparently I'm a quarter British. Who knew?
Oh, no.
Bummer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I tweeted.
The family member that went across the line.
Oh,
had
yeah.
a little.
Somebody
affair.
had
have
sex
to-
with an English soldier.
They
Gotta
knew.
find out
You have
who.
to look suspiciously at a quarter of yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel okay about it.
Yeah.
I lived there for like 4 years. I
Okay.
feel it feels like a home away from home,
Yeah.
so it works. I'm also 5% Scandinavian, which makes sense.
I can see that.
Viking.
Sure.
Waterford, my hometown,
Yes.
is a big Viking city, and less than
A
one
big Viking city.
Viking city.
Yeah.
It's literally named Vaderfjord.
Got,
Okay.
Oh, really?
No, all right. Yeah.
got raided a
checks
few
out.
times.
Yeah, a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bar in Minneapolis.
which Vaderfjord.
I don't know. Vikings country.
And I'm
Sports joke.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Minnesota. I saw them in London. They're terrible.
Oh, wow.
I have one of their jerseys though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they only had Jared Allen, so I never wear it because I look like an asshole.
I don't even know
I
what that is.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Okay.
But I'm less than 1% Italian / Greece as well, so coming at you.
Either or.
Either or. Out of the same,
knows?
you know.
That's we're going to start. Every podcast guest now has to announce their
Right.
full.
Yeah,
We're gonna send out genetic cheek swabs
totally.
like a month before you come in here.
That's the only way you can know that they're like, politically objective is knowing where they're coming from.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Going to roll it all the way back to that. That's, yes.
So, Mike.
Hey,
Yeah, GameSpot's Mike Mahardy's here.
I'm about 48% Irish,
Get in.
22% Welsh,
You want me to push you over the edge?
and I have horrible posture.
All right. Yeah.
I've been working on it though.
Mahardy, is that a Is that an Irish name?
Yeah, my full name's Michael Ruan Mahardy.
Okay.
You might know. Apparently, it's family, the Redheads. It's my mom's
Ruan.
maiden name.
Yeah. Or UANE, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Ruane to American speakers.
Yeah, if they pronounce it.
My grandfather on my mom's side is 100% Irish.
Oh, yeah?
Full blood. So
100%.
yeah, so I'm
Wow.
And then there's more scattered Irish around the rest of it. So
My wife also did it and found out that she had 25% Irish
Yeah.
and like literally had no idea where that was coming from.
oh wow.
So that was kind of like she sent it to the family and I was like, huh.
Yeah.
I guess
Explain this.
Yeah, my brother said he
Something you're
reckons
not telling me.
Some Irish guy got lucky in the Bowery one night. That's what happens.
No Viking, though.
No Viking.
Yeah.
Actually, she had a little bit of Viking too.
Don't we all?
There's a little bit of
About
Viking in all of
8%.
us.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I was trying to make a For Honor reference, but it wasn't.
I
happening.
mean, they got
Yeah,
around.
No.
Yeah, they
You know,
did. That's literally what they did.
they
Their
spread-
modus
they-
operandi.
They
Yeah,
spread
their whole thing.
themselves far and wide.
Let's get out there and make friends. We'll call it. We're gonna make some
Yeah.
friends around the world.
Spread the seed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Gross.
What's new?
What's new?
Anybody?
Man, I played a bunch of video games
Yeah?
on the way to PAX.
Yeah?
Oh God, have I triggered it already?
Oh,
I'm
boy.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. Actually, you want to rein it back? Want to rein it back? Cut it off.
I think it's too late.
Oh, is it really?
Oh, wow.
Can we do? Is this a? You just
Whoa.
gonna restart it?
Well,
over
I
and
can,
over
I can
again?
restart it as many times as you need
But
to.
you can't. Okay. All right.
All right.
I actually need your advice.
Okay.
I need your advice before we get into video games.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to Japan in a week and a half.
Mhm.
I've never been to Japan.
Okay.
You guys have been to Japan.
Yes.
Mike, have you ever been to Japan?
Yeah, a few months ago.
You've been. Okay.
Osaka.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, not quite. I'm going to Tokyo, but perfect enough. Jason?
Someday.
Okay, someday.
Is this a work thing?
It is a work. We're doing a shoot over in Tokyo. I've never been. We're there for like, I guess technically 5 days.
Okay.
Getting there is a nightmare, right? You like skip a day basically on the way.
Yeah. It's you leave Monday, get there Tuesday, that sort of thing.
Right.
You fly out Monday morning and get there like Tuesday afternoon or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then coming back, it's weird because you get to have breakfast twice.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So you like leave in the evening and you come back that morning or
Gotta
after?
leave kind of
something like
midday.
Okay.
And then you're getting back about breakfast time.
Yeah.
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 Great.
It's
so
rough.
I think it depends on what you're staying, but like what we always did. So all my knowledge of how to get into Japan and
Right.
get someplace to stay was based on EGM's knowledge.
Oh, so it's passed down.
Because we basically because we were all part of the same company when I started going
Right.
in like 99 2000 somewhere around there. So we were all kind of one company. And it was like, okay, it was like me and Milky and Sam Kennedy and Chris Johnston, who is Adult Swim now. And Chris was nice enough to like walk me around, and like, okay, we're gonna stay here, kind of like
Right.
help me get in and stuff like that. So it was always like, here's
Like
the hotel
on
here-
the ground.
right?
You had
here's
a fixer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. Here's the hotel we always stay at, and since then, like I've always wanted to stay there because it's like a good neighborhood. It's not close to where TGS is held. It was actually like kind of
Right.
a bad. If you were online and not print, it was actually a bad place to stay
Right.
because you were like, I need to get back and write all these stories up.
Where was TGS set?
TGS is the Makuhari Messe. It's in like Chiba. It's like an hour and a half away from
Yeah, it was
Shinjuku,
insane.
which is where we would
Okay.
stay.
Staying in Tokyo was completely insane because it was like 90 minutes to get to TGS.
Jeez.
But worth
That's
it because
nuts.
then you were close to like convenience stores and
Right.
arcades and.
So I'm staying in Shinjuku.
Yeah, I think
Shinjuku?
Shinjuku. Yeah.
Shinjuku.
I think that's a fine place to stay. I like it there.
Dude, are all hotel rooms that small?
No.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
But they're not usually huge either. I
Okay.
don't know. Like, how small are we talking? Like,
I mean-
smaller than this room, or are you staying in a capsule hotel? What
No,
do you
I'm
got
not
going
staying
on?
in a capsule hotel
Okay.
because we're there for like 6 days.
Yeah.
But it's like every hotel I saw was like every room was, I would say about the size of this room, maybe, including the bathroom. It looked like
Huh.
it was like a double bed with like a desk like on top of it, and
Yeah.
then like and I'm not like I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
bunk
whatever.
bed kind of
It's a place
thing?
for you to sleep. It doesn't matter, right?
Damn.
A bunk bed, but the top bunk is a desk.
Yeah.
Or bottom bunk is actually you can do that. You can totally do that. Bottom bunk is a desk.
Yeah, they
top
do
bunk
that
is
for
a-
kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah,
Man,
It's
I
not
want
one of those.
Yeah.
I did that when I was like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
sounds
awesome.
race car.
Just,
That was like 2
10
years
years
ago,
old,
Mike.
I could just be working until like 2 a.m. and then go to bed. Did
Yeah.
You worked too hard as a kid.
you say that was 2 years ago?
Mike and I have worked before. I give him shit every now and again. He turned over at Game Informer. So
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Like 3
God.
months. I met him and Dan Reichert back when
Whoa.
in 2012
I
in
didn't,
fall.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was Drew came up to me there. He's like, I didn't know you were at Game Informer. I was like,
Small
that's how I
world,
met
yeah.
Dan
Yeah.
and Jason a
Jeez,
while ago.
We're so inbred.
Yeah.
In 100 years, they'll do DNA tests on
Yeah.
us, and they'll just say video games.
40% Game
100%.
Informer. Yeah.
We're the new Vikings.
Yeah.
All that actually matters in a Japanese hotel room is the toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, so
That's the thing that's important.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be one of those magic
It's gonna
toilets?
be,
that,
it's
like,
gonna be
heats
a,
up?
a robot
Or it could be a hole in the
Spaceship
ground. Who
toilet.
knows?
Oh right. Oh. That's a hard
those
swing.
are mostly in the train stations.
Yeah.
Okay. This one looks like it's a new hotel, so it's like some of the Google reviews and some of the other ones are real fucked up. But this one was like they seem to be trying because it's only been open for a couple of months, so I'm happy about
That's
that.
cool. Yeah, I mean, we always stayed in places that were like designed to cater to international business travelers.
okay.
So it was always like the rooms were pretty normal size,
Yeah.
like maybe slightly smaller. I definitely saw some rooms that like, there'd be like 3 video editors in chain smoking because you could do that in a hotel room over there.
Yeah.
And they're just like, like cutting videos for GameSpot just in there. Like there were people like there were years where during TGS where Tim Tracy didn't leave his room.
Oh no.
And he built the biggest trash pile he could.
Wow,
Over the
okay.
course of the stay because he was just there cutting videos. We would bring him more footage. He would cut the videos.
It's like empty packs of Marlboro Red just on the bed.
Like, basically, and just like convenience store shit. And then like he would leave the room for half an hour, and like the maids would sneak in and destroy his trash pile, and he
my
would be so
God.
sad.
How hard is it getting around? Like, do you taxi there? I hear the public system's really good.
From the airport to the hotel.
Which airport?
Narita.
Okay, that's the one that's in the city, isn't it?
No, that's the one that's in the city is not Narita.
Okay,
Narita
I'm flying to the one in the city, but Jeremy, my shooter's flying to Narita.
Okay.
Which is like 90 minutes
Yeah,
away.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel bad for him.
But that one there are limousine buses, which is a fancy word for it's a bus.
Okay.
It's not a limousine at all. But it's you buy a ticket on the bus and it takes you around to the different hotels
Oh,
that you might
okay.
be likely to stay at.
Right.
So they have different circuits for that sort of stuff. So we would always take that. You could also take the train in.
Right.
And it just dumps you off, Tokyo Station, like whatever bigger stations you want to go to.
God.
It'll duck you off right there and you can get around.
That sounds fun. This is Jeremy's first time outside of America.
And he's going to be alone.
dang.
So,
Wow.
That's not too far off from me. My first time outside, well, aside from like Canada or Mexico, was London for a week before Gamescom, and then I think it was maybe a month later, early December, I went to Osaka. We went
Right.
to Capcom, and like you were saying, it was one of those hotels that kind of caters to international travel.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. And I was in Osaka. I walk out of my hotel room, and Bing Crosby's singing a Christmas carol.
Yeah.
Of course.
Over the
Was it
loudspeakers.
Christmas?
Yeah.
Like actual Bing Crosby?
Yeah.
Robot.
Yeah, no, he was
hologram robot.
That's
thing.
where he's
Crosby.
been.
Yeah.
He just followed me around the hotel.
Japan is very good at emulating America when it wants to.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
like,
I think we've probably talked about the Outback
Yeah.
Steakhouse here before. Of course,
Oh,
of course
really?
that's Japan emulating America, emulating Australia.
yeah. But whatever, the steaks were fine.
It's like incredible how much like chain stuff over there can resemble stuff here if they put the effort in.
Gio Corsi was telling me I should try at McDonald's.
You should.
But
You
McDonald's is
definitely should.
different
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Like that one.
Get yourself a bacon potato pie.
Yeah.
Bacon potato pie.
Yeah.
Am I back in Ireland?
Yeah.
Basically.
All
Yeah.
right.
And that's about it. I don't know. They always have a weird monthly burger that is
Ooh.
always strange.
All right.
There's one that had the black buns.
Yeah.
It seemed
Oh,
like
yeah,
when we
I
were
saw
over there
that.
for TGS, it was always like there were rabbit. It was because there were like rabbits all over the McDonald's, and then the burger had an egg on it.
Like rabid, like Ubisoft rabbits?
No, rabbits, not rabbits.
Rabbits, okay.
And it was never near Easter, so I don't know why.
What, were they selling you rabbit meat?
I don't think so.
Maybe who can say? Who can say? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a matter of like so for him getting to like if he ends up at a train station.
Yeah.
Then suddenly it becomes like, okay, because you can't really read street signs because
No.
they're not in English. So if your hotel is somewhere weird, that might be strange. But all you really need to know is like, which exit do I need to take from the train station?
Right.
Which direction do I need to walk in?
Yeah.
And
Like Shinjuku Station, it's like 5 minute walk.
yeah, do I
maybe
take
from
like
there, so-
central west exit? Like there's because
Okay.
it's not even just west exit. It's like there's going to be a bunch of exits out of that big ass train station.
Right.
So it's figuring out that sort of stuff. And once you get to the hotel and get oriented and around, hotel is here, train station is here.
Yeah.
Everything else is fine.
That's cool. All right, cool. All right.
But I don't know how to get places. Like we would go to appointments where we would go to the Square office and stuff like that.
Right.
And like USPR would have to send things like go 2 blocks until you see this building and then take a left.
Yeah, there are no street signs or
Yeah.
address numbers. It's
Oh,
just like-
really?
Or there are, but it's not in a
super-
language
they're-
you can read.
No,
so-
there actually are not in a lot of cases.
Well, yeah,
it's just like a thing about Tokyo.
It just
There's
reminds
no
me of-
addresses anywhere.
When I was in like Poland, like everything being in Cyrillic, it's like, or when I was in Russia, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, like I can't even like figure this one out.
Right, and I
Like,
want to say that they don't number based on streets. Like their numbering is based on the block you're on.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
that ends
Yeah.
up being a different thing to decipher if you are trying to find your way around.
Yeah,
Sweet.
Osaka, our hotel address and Capcom's was about a paragraph. And not normally like the 1, 2, 3 lines, but a really long paragraph.
Like in Zelda, like the way they have the the fake language or weird language
just
name
runes,
for everything.
Just like
Glyphs.
runes, just going, I'll decode these glyphs, play Sudoku, and then unlock the hotel.
Oh man, we should get to that, but just about it. Well, not everybody, but a ton of people speak English there,
right?
And they're super friendly and super happy to help in a lot of cases.
And in some cases, they're interested in trying out their English,
right?
Because they don't get a lot of chances to on native speakers. So.
I gotta really put my American accent.
Like
give me your best American accent. What do you got?
Hi, I'm looking for the train station.
Perfect. Yeah, you sound like John Cleese playing Superman.
Looking a little bit lost and bewildered can really help.
Okay,
like that'll often get somebody to just come up to you.
Yeah,
you even asking.
Like if you're at the train station just staring at the board and trying to figure out where you're going and how much it costs, like someone will eventually come up and go like,
"Oh, really?"
Yeah.
I was on a JR line one time that stopped. Like I don't know if it was maintenance or construction or whatever, but like it didn't go as far as it was supposed to. It just it hit a random station and stopped, and everybody got off, and I was like, like an 80-year-old woman came up to me and started showing me what to do, like just out of nowhere. It's
super
like,
nice,
super helpful, and just
wow.
So
my second interaction on the train after talking to the person at the station from the airport to Osaka was, I'm sitting there and I'm just clearly looking dumbfounded and doing my best to read whatever was on like the digital clock reading kind of thing above the door. First interaction was a guy with a briefcase came out to me. He's like, I think you're supposed to be on that train. And it turned out that I was on a train that would have stopped about 65 times before Osaka.
Oh, no.
So he got me on the express train, which took like an hour and a half fewer. Like,
God.
it was perfect. And then I got there and could actually sleep finally.
Jesus.
Yeah. People were friendly.
So I'll look for the good places of the locals.
it's a good time. You'll have fun.
Anything I should do? Like, definitely do.
It's been 9 years since I've been there. So like my understanding, like talking to Steve Lin, who came in recently, and talking to him about how Tokyo has changed and stuff like that. It seems like there are just fewer. Whatever, there's plenty to do, but in terms of like my soulless, like here are where you go to get the old video games.
You're like Super Potato Tour.
Yeah, like that stuff it still exists, but it's maybe not as like fun as it maybe used to be. But you should totally go to Super Potato. You should go to Akihabara. You should find the G Front.
What's the G Front?
They sell arcade shit.
Okay.
And even if you're not, just go buy a bunch of arcade shit.
Okay.
Get into it, man. Let's fucking go down the rabbit hole. Become a problem.
Also, the G Front is really hot.
The G Front,
Last time I was there, it was like 85
the store is
degrees
hot?
in there.
Yeah.
All right. So
because it's this tiny store that is like multiple floors up, and it's full of Neo Geo carts and Naomi boards.
It's like a closet full of MVS carts.
Yeah, and it's just worth looking at. I might just even go look at that. There's and across, unless it's moved across the street from the G Front, it's like basically like you've never been. Yeah. So in Akihabara, it's kind of one big main street, and there's some stuff in the back alleys on either side. But you eventually walk far enough to where you're like, oh, this isn't the same shit anymore.
Okay.
Like we've gotten out of the part where they close the street on the weekends and people dress up like maids and have a good time.
Right.
Like this just looks like some business ass shit down here.
Oh, okay.
If you walk all the way down there and then hang a left before you cross the street, you will eventually find a store that sells airsoft guns.
Oh no!
Yep.
I remember hearing your stories about
so
coming back.
You can go look at and all this tactical vests and all this other weird shit. Like it's not just because you can find airsoft guns in a lot of places, but this store is like, no, we're fucking serious. It's like, let's get real about it.
I wonder if it's harder getting those back into the country now.
I would assume so,
Right?
Sure.
But you can't have a laptop from Dubai anymore, so or Turkey,
right?
So
it might be. I don't know. Like it depends on how closely they're. It depends on. I bet if you're coming in with an American passport or not. I bet if you're coming in with a U.S. passport, there's like whatever. Yeah. I bet they're still like.
I'm
that.
not fucking around my green card.
Yeah. Just,
Yeah, maybe play it safe. Also, if you buy airsoft, like 10 years later, you will sit here and realize, like, I have a bunch of realistic-looking guns in my closet and no idea what to do with
like
them.
they were a bad idea when we bought them.
Yeah,
but like
now it's like
right
because they're not marked in any way as being some kind of
Wait,
replica.
they don't
of
have
airsoft?
orange tips on them or anything?
No, they look 100% like the real thing.
Like if you want to go knock over that liquor store across the street, we could go do it. Is what I'm saying.
Wait, do you have them here?
Maybe. No,
I bought a USP 45 tactical, which is Solid Snake's gun from the first Metal Gear Solid.
Wait, okay, yeah,
Like with the silencer and everything. It looks
Right.
exactly like the one in the first Metal Gear
Is it
Solid.
heavy?
Awesome.
No,
not as heavy as a real gun, but
it's more plastic.
weighty.
There's more plastic in there. It's not as like rugged as the real thing, but it
Jeez.
looks exactly
Wait,
the
is that the
same.
Metal Gear Solid 2 one?
No, the first game.
Okay,
with
right.
the big long silencer on it.
Right, yeah.
And the little flashlight
The one you start with.
undermount.
And I
Yeah.
bought like what did I buy?
And like, what am I gonna do with that? Like,
Yeah.
I can't take that anywhere.
I bought an MP5, full-on rifle. I bought two, M92Fs, I think, pistols. I wanted a couple of 9s, and I wanted to do Max Payne shit with them. So, like, we would load them up, and they take gas, and the gas was hard to get here at the time. So it was like, okay, well, we can't even bring the gas into the country because they're like, this is compressed gas, you asshole. And I was like, that'll be fine. And so using up what little gas we've got left just so I can pull out 2 guns, go like this for a while, and then dive to the side. There is a GameSpot video somewhere that is me doing that, so tax write-off. It's fun.
Gas-powered guns are no joke. I remember
They hurt.
Yeah, I remember putting one of my buddies got one, and we put like a hole through a stop sign with one. They're like
Yikes.
legit.
Yeah, no, I was living with some girls at the time that were getting like loosely harassed by a sort of friend of theirs.
Oh no!
And they're like, "Let me borrow your pistol,
Right.
because I'm gonna invite him over, all sexy like, and then when he gets here, she's gonna jump out of the bush and shoot him with this gun." I'm like, "Sure, sounds good. Here you go." And that was cool to watch and not be a part of.
Yeah,
not actually be.
Out of the house that night.
That guy was fucking freaked the fuck out though. It was real good. But yeah, like that's the hijinks you can get into. Even then seemed out of control, and now I've like with the way things have gone over the last decade or more, the 15 years at this point probably.
Yeah,
That shit is fucked up. That shit is fucked up to have.
so I won't be going to that shop, but thank you.
You should
Yeah.
go look.
I'll go look.
You should
Yeah,
go
I
look
might go
at
look.
it.
Don't buy anything.
Yeah, you should definitely see it because
I'm buying M16 or
they'll have like and they've had this stuff at TGS, like Capcom will have them at their booth and stuff where it's like, hey, we've made replica guns from Devil May Cry
Right. Sure.
or Resident Evil and all this other stuff, and it's interesting to look at that stuff. Like I said, the year we first got them, we walked around the streets of Tokyo with them in our waistband. It was like me and Giancarlo and Amir.
different world.
because-
Isn't this like Akihabara like Yakuza territory as well?
No.
Isn't it? Is it not? Is that all just?
I mean,
Not anymore.
If it is,
Right.
it's not.
These guys cleaned it up.
Yeah, that's right. We walked around. We handled business.
I think that's Kabuki Show.
Yeah,
Okay.
If you want to go
right.
All right.
check that out
No, it's
at night.
I don't know.
Do
like,
I wanna?
We didn't. I didn't really go out at night too much.
Okay.
Uh,
Should I not? I like going to like fucked up places when I'm abroad.
there are parts of Shinjuku that get a little weird.
Oh,
at
really?
night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, there was like a Love Hotel was one of the places I was looking to buy. They were like, "This is actually really affordable." I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but am I going to
It
have
is.
to
Yeah,
get
'cause
like
they
a
charge by-
Nuru massage
yeah.
every
Because
night?
they charge by the hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you almost stay at a Love
I
Hotel
don't-
once
let's not-
over
nope,
there?
let's move on.
Okay. All right. All right.
Not talking about that.
Anyway, Tokyo's a lot of fun. You should probably go to Roppongi and stay up all night. I don't know.
What's Roppongi?
It's
like
a
party
district. It's where there are a bunch of nightclubs and stuff like that.
Yeah, like-
that is something you should actually ask Lang about because he
Okay.
will have opinions about stuff,
Yeah.
or even like the 8-4 guys like Mark and
Right,
John. I bet
yeah.
would have some things to say for you to do.
Okay.
that is a little more up to date than us.
All right.
'cause
Maybe
it's
on
been
the Friday.
forever.
Yes.
All right. We've got 3 days of hot shooting out there as well.
Nice.
Get done.
Mhm.
How long are you going to be there total?
6 days, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's
Flying on
good.
a Sunday, flying back on a Sunday.
Okay, yeah,
So.
that's enough time to
Yes, you
get
can-
into and out of trouble again.
Yes.
Okay.
For sure. All right.
Yeah.
We need to talk about Mass Effect.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about Mass Effect. Andromeda.
Do you want the cue? Are we
no,
doing games now?
I don't.
I think
Do
we're
the Mass
I
Effect.
think
one.
as little fanfare as possible.
Oh no. Wow, I feel like I dodged a bullet.
What happened?
what
What happened?
Yeah, I don't. The game is.
It's bizarre.
So
Yes.
I've played up to through EOS, which is kind of the first big main quest.
Well, like you did the story stuff there,
yeah,
because there's
I know there's plenty more to do.
plenty more to do
I know
there.
there's
Yeah.
plenty. Yeah, I mean, but no, I played about as much EOS as I intend to play. I would
Okay.
say, unless they force me back there for some reason. But well, I guess
Yeah, like story quests do take you back there.
let me back up a little bit.
Yes.
I finished the main kind of quest on EOS, which is kind of the first big thing you do once you're kind of establishing the game. Went back to the ship and went back to the Nexus and talked to everyone.
Nice. Almost call it the Citadel.
Yeah. Talk to everyone I could talk to get their motivations and get a sense for like, okay, how are all these characters maybe going to fit in? I'm sure there'll
Yeah.
be twists later, but let's at least get the setup. And then I stopped playing Mass Effect. And I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm going to play any more Mass Effect.
Huh.
I've heard people say that it gets better later on.
I-
You guys played tons of it.
I'm
fairly far. So there's a part, you do Eos, and then there's a part you can you go somewhere else, and then you choose.
They give you a couple more planets, and they're like, pick one of these and go do the thing, and then we'll let you move on.
And they kind of say, this will be more combat heavy on this planet. This will be more conversational. So I went for the combat one because that was the one part of the game I liked so far.
Sure.
Right.
And I did both of those planets, and then I did another thing after that. And I don't know why I'm going to play more, but I might.
Yeah.
I'm a little further than you. I'm
okay.
like pushing 40 hours in.
Okay.
And I would say I like it more than when I started, but I wouldn't say it's gotten better. I think it's more that my expectations kind of bottomed out at a certain point, and it's like, all right, I'm starting to accept this thing for what it is. I see how it's built.
See how it's built. Is it coming together though, like storyline wise?
No,
they're really not expanding.
No.
Okay, so you're like 40 hours in. How much of that is like side quests? Are you kind of mainlining? Or?
I maxed out one planet just because I wanted to see what that did. The one thing I kind of like about the game is the colonization aspect of it. Like
you're leaving your mark.
The numbers go up.
Yes,
numbers
that's
go
kind
up.
of what it
There's
is.
Progression.
If they had leaned
visually,
more heavily into that stuff, like if they'd given you more control over, like they'd almost done like a little SimCity-ish kind of thing of like, I want to customize these bases and like do stuff that matters to this colonization effort. I think that would have been really cool because even what they have there, which is really just kind of like window dressing for like, okay, you'd finish these quests, now a base is here.
Right.
But even that is kind of satisfying. It's like, oh, this planet was super fucked up. It was all irradiated and there were like acid storms and whatever. And then I did some stuff and like now the skies are clear and now there's a thriving little base here. And like that's kind of a cool feeling. But like that's as far as they go with it. Other than like all that does really is open up a bunch of like super bland side like mission givers and side quests that are kind of just a way to get that number up.
Yeah.
Which ultimately doesn't really amount to much, but it could have, and that would have been pretty cool.
I keep hearing that the combat seems good, but how are the quests themselves? Is there much variety or
super cookie cutter?
Really?
Well, do you mean the story stuff or the like? Because there are a bazillion side quests in this game, like a staggering
like the design of the
amount.
quests themselves. Like, is it just like fetchy stuff? Is it just like shoot your way
the side
to the
quests?
end of
The side stuff is 100% like it's always like go to a place and then either activate 2 things or scan 3 things or like
shoot 2 things
or like kill some stuff, like come back to me or maybe don't because maybe we'll just give you credit right there on the spot. But it's all super superficial and surface level. Like there's no story really tied in any of that stuff that means anything. Like there will be dialogue around those missions, but it's like the most boilerplate, like just kind of placeholder stuff. It's like I'm a scientist and they stole my equipment. I wish I had it back, and then you get it back. And then you can say, so why are you here? And they'll be like 2 sentences of like, I've always cared about science.
Yeah.
Here I am.
I've always
Thanks for your help.
cared about science.
Yeah, like that's about as deep as any of the individual conversations with the quest givers get because it's just a means to get you out there to do a thing and come back and then be rewarded with XP. Like it does nothing to flesh out the universe.
Even if that thing is playing Sudoku.
Yeah.
So
really?
There's a lot of Sudoku.
So
is it called like Space Doku or something or?
It's I don't know if they actually.
I don't think
they call it. It's just a hacking.
minigame,
Yeah.
basically.
The hacking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the ancient. It's the people in this galaxy made
Locked
it
their doors
Sudoku
with
because
Sudoku.
they didn't expect a bunch of Milky Way people who have played a lot of Sudoku to come and figure it out so fast. So that's
I didn't know
so-
we've been preparing for this.
So you wrung all the ancient alien technology out of the Milky Way that you could, and then you went to Andromeda.
Right.
To look for more ancient alien technology.
And
like that's the thing again.
Right.
New galaxy, like same basic
Citadel,
same
new-
basic construct.
okay.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah, it seems like the number of things that just map over directly from the previous trilogy onto this in terms of just like, okay, instead of the Citadel, you've got this thing. What is the
Nexus.
Nexus.
which basically looks the same.
Yeah. And
Like you've got the Tempest, which looks just like the Normandy.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
like a good way, like the Next Generation Star Trek. That did a good job of that,
I
right?
actually saw somebody liken it more to Star Trek Voyager, which I feel like is a better
I
analogy.
like Voyager. Fuck
do
yeah,
too.
Neelix.
yeah. But Voyager at least felt different in a different way as opposed to we are trying to make the same thing again, which I feel like this maybe just it leans a little too heavily on like, okay, here's this stuff from the first game or from the first games slightly retooled.
Like that can work if you justify it though.
Yeah.
Like Metal Gear Solid 2 did it.
Yeah.
And found a crazy dumb interesting reason to do it.
Yeah.
Versus this is just like,
If this
like
game
that.
ends with fucking like Shepard taking a helmet off and go, that was a fun simulation, boom, cut to black, then
Right.
that's a better game somehow.
Totally. Because right now it just feels like they sat down and said like, okay, by the numbers, what are the things that make a Mass Effect game? Let's just fill all of those blanks in again.
Yeah.
So what is
It's like Mad Libs for
Right.
Yeah.
But like this, but at least in the old games, like the story was the thing that propelled you forward.
Right.
Even if the combat was never
Right.
really, combat in 2 was pretty great. They
Yeah.
fixed it up a lot in 3, was pretty cool. But like, what is it that's making it so disinteresting? Is it just so?
It just,
the story
it
just
just fails to land. I mean,
Right.
like I said, it's you. They went to a whole new galaxy and then kind of brought all the same stuff back.
Yeah.
It's like you're discovering more ancient alien technology that powers everything. Like there's a kind of like faceless, bland, big bad guy out there who wants it too, and like there's just kind of. It's just a bunch of like very standard like sci-fi video game tropes.
It kind of seems like the Halo 4 problem of like, hey, you've got this opportunity to start a new trilogy, and then like a mission and a half in Halo 4, it's like, oh, by the way, here's all the same enemies from the other Halo games in conjunction with this little light sprinkling of new stuff.
Yeah,
like this kind of seems like that.
Yeah, I mean, you get to the Andromeda Galaxy. It takes like, 600 something years for them in cryosleep, and the first place you go could be Arizona. And then you go to the snow planet, which just looks like Hoth. It's retreading. It doesn't. I mean, you first see these like floating stones when you get to the first planet, and I was like, okay, cool. Maybe they're gonna play with the physics of the galaxy because it's not the Milky Way anymore. But no, it just becomes normal. There's like even like you meet new alien races that weren't in the first trilogy, and your voice translator immediately figures out how to decipher their language.
Really?
So there's no like arrival kind of figuring out communication.
The story just feels like kind of disjointed and really oddly paced. Like they kind of rush you through things that should be given a lot more gravity. Like when you meet those aliens, and there are only 2 new alien races in this entire galaxy.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and you meet both of them like right up front. On top of that, they really go out of their way to justify why like half of the aliens from Mass Effect will not be in this game.
Like they're lagging
there's
behind.
a throwaway line of dialogue.
There's like that line of dialogue early on. They're like, yeah, there was another colony ship that had the Quarians and the Elcor and the Hanar and the blah 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 and
where
blah.
are those dudes?
They all had their own ship. They had technical problems. They weren't able to leave at the same time as us.
They're somewhere in Dead Space.
DLC.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
or like the sequel. Like, it's like, oh, their ship showed up. Hooray!
yeah.
So the whole ship full of Elcor.
So don't expect to see any of them in this.
It's just, I mean, for me, it's, I always thought that the combat in the Mass Effect games got better, but it still only got good in service of like a storytelling and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's very telling that by Mass Effect 3, they were like, hey, we've got a narrative setting because the story is the star here, so you can turn the difficulty down on the shooting or whatever. And they still have that here.
Okay.
But now the story doesn't seem to be holding up its end of the bargain. And like the combat, I think, is good in spots. I think the mobility is a neat twist.
I think it's the best combat that they've had in a Mass Effect game.
I feel like the reduction, the inability to tell your squad mates to use
that
their
is
powers
disappointing.
actually really sucks.
That's almost like a deal breaker.
really?
It's
for
like
me.
fewer.
I use
you
that
have
a
fewer
ton.
options now.
I was one of the
they have-
guys that would actually, pause combat,
Yeah.
move everything around, like issue commands and stuff, and then watch it all play
That's
out.
100%
I liked
gone.
that. And
Really?
That's 100% gone.
Wasn't that like? Didn't they do a really good version of that in Origins? Like they sort of
They did an
Yeah,
Inquisition
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
I believe.
Well,
Well,
Dragon Age was very much about like stop everything,
right.
set up your stuff, and execute. And they've,
I think even Inquisition still has
Inquisition
that,
still
right?
has that.
Oh, sorry, I
It's-
meant
yeah.
Inquisition.
It's a little. By the time they got to Inquisition, I think they cut it back to. Anyway, they did do that, but you could control any member of your party in Inquisition.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas
In this,
You can't issue the wait. So
all you can
tell them where to
you
go.
tell them
all you
what to attack, and you can tell them where to go,
That's
and that's
it.
it.
Oh no.
and you can't
so-
even equip different weapons on them and stuff. You can customize their skills.
Right.
You can decide how they level up, but that's it.
So how's the combat better?
The
Like, just-
mobility,
just feeling of it,
That's
or-
the thing. Is I don't think it is. I
Right.
think it is maybe on par with 3, but also like so it's got a jump, jet, and a dash, so you can kind of you can jump up and air dash.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's way
that's
more mobile.
fun.
But the bigger thing is that you can buy any skill you want. They don't limit it by your class selection anymore.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
the class you pick at the beginning just determines which skills you start with, but then you can put points into anything.
Right.
So I'm mixing and matching skills in a way I never could before because of those limitations. So it feels a lot more like
Yeah.
between the mobility and all the different skills you can jam together in weird combinations.
Like your character becomes a lot more
yeah,
open.
but it is
to
more of a
different types
pure. It
abilities,
is
but-
way more of a pure action game now than it was before.
Right. So they've taken the whole like you using this set of skills between your party and just giving it all to you, kind of.
Yeah,
Kinda, yeah.
But you
Yeah.
can only have 3 equipped at a time, so it's still it doesn't like they'll run off and do combat, and some of that stuff looks like fucked up. I mean, a lot of the animation stuff, like mid combat, as well as
Characters will like
in
teleport
cutscenes.
above enemies and just like
Yeah, like what is it?
Oh, really?
Is Cora her name? She does like a
saw that
teleport punch, and
Yeah.
she'll
Well,
It's
teleport
charge.
to
It's
a
the
charge.
It's the
Okay.
biotic charge.
So she'll biotic charge to an enemy that's in the air, which means she'll just appear in the air in this standing punch animation, and then kind of stumble on it a little bit, like it's trying to stand on the enemy,
Right.
and then fall to the earth. And it's just like this is like how did this happen? Why is this in a shipping game?
It is way beyond the combat. It is. This
Yeah.
is
Those games are always a little bit rougher.
I am on the verge of calling this
really?
the buggiest AAA game I have ever played. It is very close to that. Like,
Did you play that Assassin's Creed game?
Unity.
Not enough to see that stuff.
That stuff. This reminds me of that in some ways, but I think that maybe still takes it.
Did that stuff break the gameplay though? Because like there are multiple cases here where I just haven't been able to do things because of stuff breaking.
I feel like there was like quest scripting issues and stuff like that. It wasn't just like everyone focused on the image of the broken face thing, and Mass Effect sure has its share of faces.
This is similar to that.
But
I've got multiple quests in my log that I just can't finish because either like the options to complete them are not there, or I do the things and they don't check off.
Oh no!
I've had quests from earlier in the game that I finished like come back and become my active quest again, even though they were finished. You saw stuff like that?
Yeah, the active quest management is super annoying.
The quest stuff is like borderline broken at times. I was running around my ship last night, and one of the rooms off to the side like failed to draw in, so the door just looked like a gaping hole into space.
Wow!
Because it was just the skybox from behind the room that wasn't there,
which you don't want on a spaceship.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
I had the main character like blink out of existence and back in during a major cutscene last night.
Oh yeah, my favorite one I've seen so far. Someone on GameSpot was capturing it. He was talking to a Krogan, and the Krogan was speaking back, and all of a sudden another clone came out and started wandering the room.
Two versions of the part of the crew member were like doing different routines in the room at the same time,
and it became unclear which one he was speaking to because the dialogue continued.
Right after that stream last week, we started a new game just off the stream just to mess with it with the female writer, and the very first scene where you like wake up and sit up in bed, another NPC had spawned right on top of her, and so there were like two models like she was clipping in with this other guy. But then after it gave me control and I stood up, I turned around and talked to the guy. He turned out to be an NPC from a quest that you do later on in the game, who was back there. And when I talked to him, he gave me his like mission complete dialogue. He was like, "Oh, thanks for saving me back there. Like, I'm glad to be back safe on the ship." Like 30 seconds into the game, like this NPC from later in the game.
Did it then check off the quest?
It didn't actually give me quest credit for a quest I didn't have in my log yet. But I was just like, dude, what is going on with this thing?
Yeah, it seems like there's kind of a lot of stuff.
I've had armor show up in the leg armor list before. Just
so is this just like a rush it out before Q1?
Yeah, dude. I don't think it's no coincidence.
Right.
No coincidence. This thing's coming out at the end of March. I don't think. I think they
so sad.
had to get it out. It needed a lot more attention.
I mean, EA needed this to. I mean, it maybe doesn't fix the rest of the game, like the reception to the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But like, you're coming off of 3. I mean, 3 was a good game, but the ending really soured people a lot. Like, you needed this not to be this.
Yeah.
Like, you needed it to be some bit of a win.
Yeah.
Like, that seems super frustrating if they decided to do that for fiscal reasons.
It's hard to say. Like,
that wouldn't.
Exactly. I don't know that fixes the story. Like more polish would. There would be fewer things to laugh at.
Yeah.
And clown on, which there's enjoyment to be derived from that end of it, I guess. Weirdly enough, but like from talking to people that have seen the story through and some of that other stuff, like that would still be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, where it's really disappointing is where it fails to do the stuff that Mass Effect has always done well.
Right. Yeah.
Like kind of okay combat and bugs you expect.
Yeah.
But like failing to craft like a really interesting story with a lot of kind of side narratives that you can follow and flesh out the universe and stuff. Like
any of the companions?
That's
particularly?
unforgivable.
No.
The alien Jaal. Did you get?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got him. Yeah.
I like him, but
he's okay. He's probably the best party member.
He falls into that area that I think a lot of sci-fi, like the trope that a lot of sci-fi movies use. It's that person who comically doesn't understand like human emotion, so he'll say really offensive things without realizing it.
Right.
But yeah, I think he is one of the more interesting.
He's got
ones.
kind of a wry sense of humor. Like he can be kind of fun to roll around with on occasion. But yeah, most of the party members are just like just super shallow. A lot of really like stilted dialogue. Just way below par for what.
And then a lot of like really kind of bad facial animation.
Stuff
throughout.
That's the stuff that makes for good like animated GIF fodder.
Yeah. Did you care about it like 4 hours in?
I mean, I only care about it because the thing you care about in Mass Effect is the story, and they have done well at crafting emotional tales in the past.
Yeah.
So this stuff undermines a lot of that, even in cases where they might get it right. If you've got goofy facial animations like the female writer, and I guess like you've been playing male writer, so you've said it kind of is similar that way, but like she just seems to always have this vague kind of half smile on her face,
right?
That like as she's hearing heavy things about like, oh, your family member's in trouble, like she's like, really? like this weird kind of smile, like, oh, that's terrible. They're like, what the fuck is going? Like, so it just undermines their storytelling even further when that stuff doesn't work out. Yeah. And so, yeah, when you take it all together, this thing's I'll put it to you this way. I had Mass Effect over the weekend. I had the ability to play as much or as little Mass Effect as I wanted to. I played Wildlands instead.
Right.
And I think Wildlands is a pretty middling game.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, no shortage of really good games to play right now.
Yeah.
So it seems like
right. Yeah.
Maybe not the best time to put out a subpar Mass Effect.
Total. Well, there's never. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. After 3, I felt really burned, and not necessarily because of the ending, but just because of the way they wrapped up so many different story threads throughout 3.
I mean, it was a little bit greatest hits of Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Right. Like it was definitely a little bit like, you're going to solve every major outstanding problem in this entire galaxy in one game.
Yeah. But like, those solutions are going to come fast and like kind of tossed off in ways, and so that was my problem. With Mass Effect.
Of course you have a cure for the genophage ready to go. Like, of course I'm going to broker peace between the Quarians and the Geth like right now. Yeah.
But I mean, like and those were
people.
For
people
me,
wanted closure, though.
Totally,
and
they did good on those things.
Yeah.
Like the genophage stuff, I thought was like finally good.
It was handled well.
It was it was more the stuff where like you had people walking up to you and saying like, "Oh, hey, it's you from the first. Remember me from the first game? Hi, how you doing?" Like these incredibly convenient conversations.
Like they felt compelled to look at the list of like, okay, what's every decision you've made over the last 2 games? We have to make sure somebody shows up and mentions each one of those. Top to bottom.
So like by the end of Mass Effect 3, like I felt disappointed. And then, like, everything, of course, happened after the fact. And it was like, okay, this whole property is just, like, nuclear. Like, get away from it, cool it down. And so it took years before I was like, actually, when they first announced a new Mass Effect, I was like, oh, man, they definitely shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it for another 6 months or so. I was like, actually, maybe enough time has passed that I'm ready to see a new Mass Effect. And then for this to be the game that they put back out there after all that, like, this is the point where stop making them.
Right.
Like, this is obviously the setup for a new set of games.
No, they came out and said this
trilogy?
game stands on its own.
Okay. Oh, really?
I don't know. I don't know I haven't seen the ending yet, but
my understanding is that it does leave room for
more. That's every
of course. Game. Every video game does,
but not knowing Mass Effect 1 did, where it was like we are coming back to this.
I mean, they announced that as a trilogy. I think.
They
came out and said that would be a big thing.
Like your decisions,
because that was the game more than any where like they came out and said, hey, you're going to make a bunch of decisions in this game that will carry over to the next one. They were pitching that as like a series,
right? And if this is the level of quality you can expect out of new Mass Effect games, they should not make any more Mass Effect games. Yes, they should have probably let it die.
I agree.
That's a shame.
I feel for him because like, what do you do after 3? It's like
they found a way. I mean, whatever. They found a way to reopen the book, right? They're like, oh, what if we took it out of this entire theater and moved it to some place pretty far away? Like, there's a ton of potential in what they did.
But then they didn't make good on any of that.
And that's on them. Like I think there was definitely room for them to make a new Mass Effect game. They came up with a premise. They came up with a justification for why there might be more. Yeah. And then everything that, from hearing you talk about later parts of the game, from the stuff I've seen myself, and, seeing some stuff later on in the game myself, like they should probably stop.
And it should be relatively, I mean, for any series, it's difficult to do a reboot, usually because the protagonist is the thing you can't carry over when you do that, or you're like resetting it. But like, there was never an affinity with Shepard. Like, Shepard was always just a cipher for you. Like, I never cared about Shepard. I cared about his friends.
I cared about me as Shepard. It's friend, like, the crew, like, you formed bonds with Garrus. And I mean, like characters you can still name by name.
Right.
I don't think anyone's going to feel that way about most of the characters from Andromeda.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't seen much Scott Ryder. I went with Sarah, and honestly, she's my least favorite character in the game right now. Like, the person I'm supposed to be seeing this world through their eyes, I can't stand her.
That's the thing. Like Shepard actually did. Shepard ended up feeling like an established character to me because I role played him consistently or whatever, but like I thought of him as a guy who acted a certain way because of all the decisions I made about how he acted. But like the Ryder character feels like a faceless cipher,
right?
Largely because the face is like so rigid all the time.
Yeah,
like they don't even act like real people.
Yeah, and I don't know if they were trying to make at least Sarah feel like this really insecure character. It's kind of like the first game when you're becoming a Spectre. Is that you're kind of thrust into this situation where like a human or your character would not normally be, but of course they rush it in this game really fast, so I don't think they gave it the impact it deserved. But she'll start saying these things. We were on that ice planet, and she said something like, I know we're on an ice planet, but in that case, let's stay extra frosty. And then And then if you can turn the nomad travel dialogue off, and I suggest you do that because I had Jal, that character we mentioned before, and the Turian, Vetra, and they were talking. And at one point, they started getting in an argument, and my character, Sarah Ryder, said, "I swear I will turn this car around."
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff like that in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of asshole.
They're
There's
trying to go for an endearing asshole, and I don't think they did it.
But that's not limited to that character. I mean, there's tons. Like practically every character in the game has like some variation of like, oh, I shot that guy in the face, or like I'm number one. I'm number one.
Yeah,
like
just their attempts at cutesy dialogue, I think, undermine it even further.
I saw the floating rocks thing. Where they don't shut up about the floating rocks.
A lot of that stuff, and it does not go over well.
Yeah, and it seems like all that dialogue is mapped onto Scott Ryder as well. I think it's it's not like they made a tonal change.
And don't create a character if you're gonna play this game.
Like somebody,
go with the default.
Animation.
Those lines keep floating up in my
yeah.
Somebody was talking shit at me at one point, and Ryder's like, "Oh, the snark is strong with this one." And it's just like, is that a weird Star Wars reference in this? Like, what?
What the fucking? Are you for fucking real?
Yes, that is a line in that game.
Is that a Half-Life reference?
Shut this shit down.
It's just like, what is happening with this thing?
Yeah, that's it seems profoundly disappointing.
Yeah.
I guess, right?
Like, there's a lot to do in it. I found myself like zoning out at one point. Like I got one of those planets up to 100% just by like driving around doing every side quest I could find.
That is how I played the last quarter or so of Wildlands.
Yeah,
was just like this is a checklist, and I can check stuff off. And I was like, oh, at some point I'm like, I'm actually close to finishing this. I'm going to finish this and write a review because why not?
Like, none of it is especially rewarding, but there's a lot of it to do, and you can waste a lot of time doing it if you want.
Yeah.
Buy, rent, avoid.
Are
you reviewing it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It's gonna take me a while to get to this. So, like, I'm a huge fan of the Mass Effect series.
Who's not?
I really wanted to go back into that universe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I can wait.
There are times when there have been times like running around my ship when I just sort of let my brain go slack and stop thinking about all the things that are wrong with it, and I just go like, I'm in my spaceship.
Yeah.
This is Mass Effect. I can fly anywhere I want and do some cool stuff.
Then your eyes focus and you see what you're looking at and you go, oh.
Yeah, like that's exactly what it is. Like every time I get into that state, I am just like jolted back to like awareness of all the things that are wrong with it.
And then you go to scan planets and there's this animation to zoom into each planet every single time.
Yeah. Moving from any one planet to another is like this 30-second unskippable animation of like pulling back from the planet, like slowly changing angle, slowly flying to the new. Like I have no idea.
That's your Resident Evil door opening.
But there's nothing to load there. All it is another planet model. I have no idea.
Like the number of planets you can actually go down to and visit seems like painfully low as well. It's like 6 or 7.
5. Like in terms of ones that have a progression on them where the number goes up, there's 5. I think there's like 2 or maybe 3 like smaller ones that just have little bits of story, but that's just little bits of story stuff. Like one very small map, like one little city or something. It's not that much.
Yeah.
Because like all the side stuff they used to put on random planets that you could go explore or interesting little side locales, like all that stuff is just crammed into the 5 story locations now. So it's like you did Havarl, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like I did that way later because that's the point where you can pick the 2 planets. So the one that I didn't pick, I came back way later when I had already unlocked a bunch of other side quests that happened to be there. And you land there, and there's like 6 completely unrelated things that are like big story threads, like all with quest objectives, like right around the landing site of your ship. It's like, oh, you have to go activate this monolith. Oh, by the way, the Turian ship also happened to crash like 20 feet in the other direction. Like here's this rebel leader who also happens to live right next to where you landed. Like they just cram it all.
It's like walking into Iron Forge.
Yeah, it feels super contrived. Yeah.
How's the multiplayer? Like 3 was
it's okay.
Received really well, and you hear good stuff about this.
It's not bad.
Okay.
I just started getting to play it yesterday because nobody had the game before it was out. So
all right.
Couldn't get in any sessions, but like it's fine if you want to play some wave-based survival with blind box item drops.
I installed the mobile app yesterday.
Ooh, did you?
Which you can use
thinking about it.
Use to send your strike teams out to earn credits for some other thing.
Because it's got timed missions. It's got timed.
It's like they'll
Assassin's
be
Creed Brotherhood.
Yeah, they're doing it for 5 hours, and
Yeah.
now every 5 hours I can pick my phone up and go, go do this now, I guess, and then these numbers will also go up.
Another clicker to add to your
Yeah.
repertoire.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if you have to play a new Mass Effect game.
This is the one to go to, man.
This is a new Mass Effect game.
I guess I should also, like, before we move on, like I played a fair amount on the Xbox One,
right?
And it looks way blurrier there than it does even on a base PlayStation 4. Playing it on a Pro, it's a sharp looking game. The frame rate is not amazing.
It does not run super well even on Pro.
Yeah. But in terms of like comparing the console versions, because I haven't seen PC, like that Xbox One version looks weirdly blurry. Like check my eyes, like is my TV on the wrong setting? Like these models look really blurry. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was telling you guys last week, I played on Xbox as well, and every time my Xbox goes to sleep without fail during that game, when I turn it back on, I can move the camera in the game, but everything else has frozen.
Oh, no.
Like 7 out of 7 times it's happened, because I leave it on at work at my desk a lot. So when I come back, I'll just turn it on, and I'll start capturing, but it'll be just the camera can move. And I have to close the app and then
built-in
restart
photo
it.
mode.
Yeah.
I lost the ability to launch the Xbox One version, and I'm not sure why.
Me too.
It popped up and said, like, you need to be online to do this. And I'm like, I totally am online.
I found out, at least, I don't know, I tried troubleshooting it. I had a download in progress in the background, and I paused that and then went back, and it worked.
Oh.
I mean, this all sounds like the type of stuff that Microsoft has on their checklist of do not launch a game unless you can deal with sleep mode and unless you can deal with...
Right.
Like, that's... Not, okay.
But...
Day one patch?
But if EA... Well, no. I mean, they've had multiple patches since we got access
PS4
to the game.
version pulled like 3 patches before release.
Oh, fun.
Already.
I guess it was on our EA Access, was it? Last week or something?
As of Thursday or something.
Right.
So, yeah. I wonder if that's a case where, like, because they're EA, if you go to Microsoft and say, like, we need to get this game out in March, it has to happen. Like... It definitely 100% cannot get pushed out of March.
I am super curious to see how many patches they put out for this thing and how much attention they give the problems it has, because it is so rough. And I have no idea, like...
It's a real shame.
Yeah.
Like how much they will actually commit to fixing that stuff, versus just kind of like push it out there and let it be.
Well, and presumably they'll have like DLC and some other stuff going on. Like they've
There's
got
not a season pass available, is there?
That
you're aware of.
I'm not sure how they're handling the post-release content.
I mean, the maps were free for the last game.
I did see there's like at least one free thing coming in May, I think.
Okay.
That might just be for the deluxe edition owners. I don't know. I would assume it's probably mostly multiplayer stuff.
So we don't have like a roadmap or star map or whatever. Sorry.
There might be
something. Turn this star map around.
I don't know that I would want to play any additional content.
Right.
Are you only playing it now because you're reviewing it? Like, would you stop or...
I mean, that's probably primarily the reason. Like, even if I weren't, I probably would feel obligated to see how it plays out.
Right.
Because I love Mass Effect. Like, it was like my favorite thing from the last generation of consoles. But it's rough.
Oh, God, yeah. It stings, man.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Lately, I've been much better about if I don't want to finish a game, I won't waste the time.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I feel obligated.
I mean, at this point, I think I need to know how it plays out. I've been so frustrated with so much of the storytelling that I need to see what they do to wrap it up, and if they redeem it in any way. But
just do what I did and never complete Mass Effect 3 and then watch the ending last week on YouTube.
Then you're free.
Yeah.
Which ending do you pick?
Oh, yeah.
Moving on.
Let me tell you about the theory I have about what really happened.
Just watch the indoctrination theory.
Jesus Christ. I did watch that. God, people will do anything to fix their...
There are still people out there that think that, like, Metal Gear Solid 5 is not over yet. There's still someone out there that is, like, picking apart Death Stranding trailers and looking for clues for MGS5. And like, it's still...
See, Death Stranding is Mission 52.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Is it.
Exactly.
Metal Gear Solid 5 is not over because I finished it and then it went, no, dog, you're halfway through, keep going. And I went, fuck no.
Do all of these side quests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We need to take a break and perhaps go wash ourselves off a little bit. I'll be right back.
I think it's time for you to update your web presence.
I didn't know I had one.
No, I was looking at your Banjo website, and it still looks like, something that came out in 1996.
That's because I made it in 19...
It's got all that animated fire. It's got the construction sign on it. All those web rings you're a part of are dead.
Construction never quite ended.
Yeah. Well, why not get some help from the construction experts at Squarespace?
We got the hard hats over there?
They are the hardest of hard hats over there, and easy as well.
Wow.
Both hard and easy. That's right.
Okay.
You can use their simple and intuitive tools, plus they've got award-winning templates. You can create a beautiful website. It's simple. It's intuitive. Add and arrange your content and features with the click of a mouse. How about that?
That sounds good.
There's nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. It's all on their end. They take care of all that stuff.
Great.
You just get your Banjo biz, your Banjo bits.
They do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
I'll do the strumming.
Exactly. You do the...
Wait.
You'll do both the picking and the grinning.
There you go.
when you move your Banjo website over to Squarespace's.
Maybe you should be making the Banjo site.
It sounds like anyone can make the Banjo website with the power of Squarespace. Think of them as your very own IT department. How about that?
I will.
Yeah, because they've got award-winning 24/7 customer support. So even if you run into any trouble with their easy tools, they're there to help you through that stuff.
All right.
Make your next move. Start your free trial at squarespace.com today. Enter the offer code BOMBCAST, and that'll get you 10% off your first purchase. And if you purchase an annual plan, you'll get a free domain. That offer code again is BOMBCAST, BOMBCAST.
Jeff, briefly, is there anything to say about Wildlands that hasn't already been said about Wildlands?
I ended up coming around on it a little bit by the time I finished it up. Like it's not a game you should play alone, and it's not a game you should play with strangers, which is like
what?
Yeah.
How should I play it, Jeff?
With 3 other friends. If you can rope other people into playing it, and basically it might work with strangers. You need to communicate when you're playing multiplayer, because the communication tools that it gives you when you're playing with like 3 AI people to order them around don't work in a multiplayer environment. Right. So you actually have to play it like that fucking E3 thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. They were right the whole time.
They finally just went and made that game.
It's weird. And I think that's kind of a flaw, because I think there are tons of players that don't play games that way, and this game is kind of not for them. But it kind of goes both ways. Someone needs to kind of be making games like that. It's kind of bold to cut off wide swaths of an audience by saying like, no, you really need to play this with other people. I don't know. It's like mechanically, I think it's like decent. It's pretty good in some spots even.
Are there shenanigans to be had in that game?
It's not really a hijinks kind of game.
We were running a tractor.
Yeah, we did that. We did
shot a chicken and it blew up real good.
We did that stream, and then afterwards, the comments, people were like, "Oh, why didn't they screw around more? It's an open world game." And I was like, the point is, like, there are no tools with which to screw around.
By the time you have fully leveled up and put points into every point in the tree, your drone gets the ability to fucking blow up.
Blow itself up?
Yeah. Huh. So most of the hijinks. So after spending dozens of hours with the game, like way more hours than one should spend with Wildlands, you eventually gain the ability to fly a drone into a room full of people and just blow it up and laugh.
Also, isn't that really convenient? Because don't they not notice that it's there?
They will see it.
Do they acknowledge it?
They can see it. One of the other upgrades is to silence the drone.
A drone silencer.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's very useful. But they can still see it. Sometimes they will still spot it.
Right.
But the consequences are very low.
Right.
So a lot of the shenanigans comes from just like, well, fuck it. Let's just alert everyone, because who cares? They'll never find me, because all they're seeing is this drone that just blew up 4 of their friends.
Can you keep making the drone?
Yeah.
Like just keep sending drones in?
There's a cooldown on the drone. So yeah, I mean, like, so the other thing is when you're playing alone, you can do this sync shot thing where you mark a target. Like, other Clancy games have had this thing, but like there's no limit on it other than the cooldown. So eventually you upgrade it so you can take out 3 enemies at once.
Right.
So you just pull up the drone, tag 3 guys, hold down the button, kill them all, wait 30 seconds. There's even an upgrade for the drone that gives it infinite battery life. So the thing through most of the game is like, well, the drone's out of battery, so I need to wait for it to recharge. Another 20 seconds. Not that hard. Eventually you're just like, well, I can just hover over this thing forever. Wow. And it's like a thing where it's not like you feel super overpowered, but at the same time it's like kind of fun. Because it's like this very tactical thing of like, well, you did make a Tom Clancy game, so even if you're not kind of adhering to much of the Clance along the way, there is still a means for me to play this super tactically, even if it means I'm just overpowering these drug cartel idiots left and right because they're just morons. There's fun to be had. I think that like the story is maybe. Like this, I'm disappointed because I think like Wildlands actually probably could have been a really great game,
right?
If they had done more with the story and stuff. Like they paint this cast of characters, but then so like it's broken up into regions. So like each region has its own boss, and you go through and fight all these characters and stuff. And this guy is the guy that sings Narco Corridos, and it's like, oh man, he's singing fun drug songs. That's cool. And like here's the guy who cooks the coke. Like we should take care of him. And so some of them you capture, some of them you kill, but like very few of them are given any opportunity to talk. So they have these videos that kind of set them up as like these colorful characters, and then at the end of each region, you walk into a room and shoot them in the face and then walk out. It's like completely at odds with like what that game could have been.
Right. Like in Hitman, every person you kill those targets. You have a sense of them after.
Exactly.
Like,
in this, you kind of, some of them pop up on the radio here and there, even if after you've killed them, and because it's all pre-recorded, I guess. I don't know. So there's just a lot of very disjointed stuff in that game that, like, if they had nailed all that down and took it more seriously, and by serious, I don't mean like made a more serious game. I mean if they had just decided to make it goofy or whatever. If they had just taken the story of their game more seriously and the execution of that story, I think this would have been a far better game.
Right.
But because they don't take it seriously, it's really just like, it's fun. I get some friends and knock around.
Right.
Fuck shit up. It's fun. Whatever. It's
but
fine.
do it in a very tactical and serious way.
Well, when you're playing with other people, you lose access to a lot of those tactical tools.
But I mean, like there's not even a category for explosive weapons, right? It's all like rifles and pistols and shotguns and stuff. Because like there's no rocket launcher to be had. Yeah, exactly.
Right,
like there's no like
mortar and do stuff.
Yeah, there's no like set up dumb car stunts by blowing shit up and making a car
you
fly
have
through
C4,
the air.
so you can drive a truck into something and blow it. There's stuff. I crashed a helicopter into a base, and that got them to be alert for about 15 seconds, and then they're like, whatever.
Probably just crashed.
Empty helicopter crashed. I don't know. Maybe there was never anyone in it. Who can say? It's dumb.
Right.
Like I came away from that game going like, there's fun to be had, but this is a dumbass video game.
You're like making your own fun. It's not like giving it to you on a.
Yeah, and I think it could have been a lot better, but it's not bad.
Sounds like tonally it's in, I don't know, like a somewhere between your Watch Dogs crazy hijinks and your what's the New York? I always forget. New York, not Division. The
Rainbow.
The New York Snow.
Division.
Yeah, Division. Yeah, it is Division.
Yeah. And it's sort of, also it's like a lot of the dialogue is really bad and poorly read and stuff like that. So like there's stuff that makes you want to avoid what is there on the story because like. And they do nothing with it. They set up this stage of just like, oh, Mexican cartel invades Bolivia to set up the world's first true, real narco state. And you're like, yeah, man, fucking sure, that's something. Like, you could go places with that. And then, like, other than some half-hearted attempts to be like, oh, America's war on drugs caused it. Yeah. Like, they don't say anything in the game. They could have done things with the story that would have been more interesting, and it just
and more like Tom Clancy, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just kind of doesn't do right by, like I feel like that there's the Tom Clancy name brings something.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is anymore, and clearly the people making those games don't either. So there's something to it, though. I don't know. I couldn't get away from it. I was happy to have finished it, even if I have some fairly major issues with it.
We were talking about that recently. Like all the Tom Clancy properties seem to be chasing after another trend. Like The Division came along, kind of going for the Destiny thing.
Right.
Wildlands comes along, goes for maybe like the emergent open world game, or at least it seemed like they were trying to.
I feel like they're chasing their own trend because it feels like a 4-player Far Cry game.
Right.
It's like it's all outpost invasions. So it's just like, oh, people seem to like this. What if you could do it with 4 players?
Right.
And then Rainbow Six Siege is a tactical shooter. I actually like that game for a lot of reasons, but I feel like that's kind of going down the Overwatch, like the hero shooter route.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Counter-Strike.
Seems like Tom Clancy games are kind of.
I mean, they don't make tactical shooters anymore, which is what Rainbow Six and certainly Rogue Spear were forever.
Yeah.
I mean,
and if you're seeing like the words Ghost Recon on this box and thinking like, finally the next game from the people that made Graw, like it's not that.
God, I forgot about that.
It's funny. It's funny some of the little touches that are in there though. Like isn't the little reload like radial thing around the reticle the same?
You're kidding.
Like there are some weird little elements that are from those old games.
I forgot about that shift even. Like because you went from
you went from like Ghost Recon being like or it went from all the Tom Clancy games being like, hey, these are on the PC for a reason.
Yeah, this is a story about Russia invading Georgia. Like this is some
you're going to stare at a map for an hour, plot out your moves, and then go.
Ding Chavez, keep him alive for the whole game.
Yeah, my man Ding.
He's great.
And then but I think it would Graw ended up being the first game that the first Tom Clancy game that I actually really liked.
They were really good.
Yeah. And then they did Future Soldier, which was not really good.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Future Soldier was the precursor to a lot of that synced up shot kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, like Splinter Cell had it at some point, but you had to. It was metered by like you need to do a melee kill, and now you've charged up your auto shot thing. Yeah. So like other games have had it, but this one is like the most overpowered I think I've ever felt in one of these games.
Regardless of line of sight, kind of just like bam, bam, bam.
Well, occasionally your guys will be like, I can't see him.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to walk forward 4 steps and then crouch again, and then we're going to be fine.
If you want tactical, I'm playing a lot of SWAT 4. for the past month.
Yeah.
GOG finally got SWAT 4 up.
Yeah.
SWAT 4 is so
Does it
still
hold
good.
up? It's still
still
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. Rubber, shotgun. What are they?
Right.
Rubber
Rubber bullets.
bullet
to take out
shotguns in the
guys.
face is
Yeah.
the funniest thing in the world.
I did not get into it at the time. Like, it just wasn't the right time for me to play that game, and so I just never really developed my SWAT 4 muscle,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Is it? I've never played it. Is it just a shooter? Is there some tactical element to it?
Oh no,
or
it's
is it like,
it's
is there like
it's
a planning aspect. To
imagine play. It's like not Rainbow Six, and it's also not like a regular first-person shooter. It exists in this like it's a little bit more action, or it's not as difficult, and it's a little bit more action-focused, where you are bursting in and trying to do it. But like no, it's like you're running into you're trying not to shoot people. You're running in, and literally like there's a button for scream at this person until they get on their knees. You're just like get on the ground.
So it's like actually a police
Oh
simulator.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
great. So like the original SWATs were like isometric kind of.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
whoever Irrational or whoever took over
Right.
this
Yeah.
one is. I think this is kind of a V game.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's straight
So
up
like they hold
the win
you.
condition is you don't kill.
Okay.
Hostages don't
Wow.
die, and if to get the highest ranking, you have to like not kill anyone. And you're straight up
I
like,
should play that.
oh, it's so
That sounds-
you're like what do you call like cable
zip
tying, zip
ties,
tying
yeah.
people's hands together,
Yeah.
and like even the hostages, which is so dark.
Yeah,
Because like
well.
there'll be like some victim who's been like in the basement for like 4 months, and then you get them, and you're like, I'm really sorry, but I'm just going to have to like.
Make sure that you
Tight.
just
Yeah.
don't cause any trouble.
And
Yeah.
the flavor they have for each mission is like I forgot how much thought went into it. Like some of them are just like, oh, this like bank's getting robbed, or here's one like a deli's getting robbed or whatever. Some are going in really fucked up ways, like this cults and like
Oh, right.
all this weird stuff. Yeah,
I
and
did remember seeing
good like
that stuff.
environmental storytelling. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's only like $10. So.
And then Colin Farrell shoots one of the criminals through the hostage.
What was that in?
SWAT.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I haven't seen. Oh yeah. God,
You know,
I'm
SWAT.
so
Yeah.
sorry. I'm so sorry on
Yeah.
this week of St. Patrick. Or post St. Patrick
Yeah.
for Colin Farrell.
You can
No,
make-
I think about Battlefield Hardline when I think about cop games,
Right,
because
yeah.
that was the last one.
Yeah.
And that game is so fucked up and
With your
broken
badge.
in so many ways of like arresting people for XP. It was something the panel that Austin Walker was on at PAX.
Right.
He brought it up again, and it was the first time I thought about Battlefield in a while. But yeah, it's like, all right, we're gonna arrest people to not kill them, and we're gonna level up, and that unlocks more guns for us to not kill people with. Like, it's just a real dumb.
What if you got a bigger badge?
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you got like a bigger, more effective
Like a
badge,
shield.
you're just like, "Ugh, get on the ground, Ugh, clang." Yeah.
Ends up being like Link, just like
Right. Yeah. It's this whole shield. You're deflecting bullets with it. Just
right in there,
attack.
Captain America, your shield.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
Perfect.
them.
That fucking game. God.
What's been on your plate, Danny?
Oh man, see, I'm probably like played a bunch of games that you've already talked about a bunch.
okay.
Can we go back and talk a little bit about Horizon Zero Dawn?
Sure. Yeah.
That game was such a wonderful experience. I don't know if it was like an expectation thing with thinking, and I've nothing against Guerrilla, and I like the Killzone games, but I was not expecting this from people who made those linear first-person shooters.
Definitely not.
I mean, and I think I'm happy I played it before I played Breath of the Wild, which is like just a masterpiece, especially for an open world game. But like Horizon, I was sad when that game ended. I enjoyed like exploring that world. The combat I thought was amazing. I played it on hard, and I think that made a big difference to it.
Yeah.
Like searching all the tall neck stuff. I did all of the. I'm not like a Caravella, but I got all the mugs. I got all the little trinket dudes, and like all that. So all the flashbacks. Just exploring that world. Like I could not have had more fun.
I did come away from that thing thinking like I could probably get a platinum trophy out of this. I
Totally.
could probably actually do
Yeah.
100% of the things. But then so many other games came out
Yeah.
that I just kind of like wrote the review and moved on.
Like satisfying ending. Thought the last fight was pretty
Yes.
good.
I agree. I thought the ending was incredibly satisfying, and I thought the post-credit thing like undid some of that satisfaction.
Yeah, the like new game plussy.
No,
to it,
I just kind of wish
Oh,
that
sorry.
they hadn't left the setup for a sequel.
Yeah,
Like, it's a game that I came away from going like, there's part of me that would like to spend more time in this world, but also the ending felt definitive in a way that modern games don't.
Right.
And I was like, don't spoil that. And then you watch the credits, and at the end they spoil that.
Yeah.
I was like, shit. Well, of course you did. That's business. But
that guy was also in Quantum Break, and it kept freaking me out.
oh fuck,
every
you're
time I
right.
saw it.
Yeah,
It's like
that's,
getting my weird sci-fi genres mixed up.
That's
But
a
like
shame.
even like that story was so like the story was so good. The like justifications for different mission types, like
The
you
way
know,
it pivots into like,
You think
hey,
it's-
by the way, here's what this story is really about.
Right.
Like that's really good.
you think it's over. It had like the best Fallout bunkers I've seen in a game, including probably in Fallout. Like going into those spaces and figuring that stuff out.
Cauldrons.
Yeah, those cauldrons. I almost did. Did you get that? Did you get that really good shield or suit.
No.
So to do that, there's only specific ways you can do it to get it, which is really annoying to me. I almost had it.
Yeah.
But I had to like backtrack through a story mission to find something, and it was like,
like I'm missing like 2 items or something.
Right.
I was like, I saw Peter found it, and I remember watching him use it, and I was like, that's really cool. I don't need it.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
It might break the fiction of the world as well if you're walking around in that thing.
Maybe a little
bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. I thought like writing Aloy is an amazing character. Animations are unreal. I love the combat so much, and I'm like everything from the way the stickiness of the arrows, the slow mo stuff, the realizing that you can use melee combat really effectively. Like at the start, I was just using range,
Right.
and then unlocking all that melee stuff and being like, oh no, I can like. Very much like Zelda, you can get up in people's faces and just time the stuff right.
Yeah.
And also very much like For Honor. Like I've just been playing 3 games that are all based on dodging, basically.
It's been hard keeping a lot of those games separate, but for me, it's been particularly in the climbing mechanics of just like the climbing of Horizon is almost more of a Fallout, like hop your way, Skyrim kind of hop your way up a mountain.
But not as handholdy as something like Assassin's Creed or Tomb Raider, which I really liked.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of work to it.
Yes.
You had to like see it.
But it still felt like I was kind of breaking the game, hopping up an area that I should probably walk around.
Yeah.
Whereas Zelda would just let you fucking climb up that shit.
So good.
I know. And then Wildlands, the climbing stuff is just vague.
Wait, that game has climbing?
It has like if you walk up to a surface, it'll say push X to climb, so you'll kind of just climb up to a next thing.
Cool.
So it's like a mix of running up a mountain and then occasionally having to do the climb.
All right.
And that. It's so I've died in all 3 of those games probably, or not. I guess Horizon came first, so maybe not that one. But like I died in those other games, thinking like, oh, I'm gonna just climb here. Oh wait, I can't.
Yeah,
this
you can't
is a
do
different. Oh fuck, I'm an idiot.
Shed him over water.
Yeah.
And now Link is drowning.
Right.
I feel like Horizon maybe got lost in the shuffle a little bit. If anyone likes, maybe a little bit, I don't know. But like if you skipped over it and you have a PS4, I feel like you have to play that game.
I feel like there was a good week there where it was getting its propers.
Yeah.
And then Zelda came out.
Yeah.
And then
that
was it.
Horizon was like my game of the year up until that. I mean, it's not really saying much. It's fucking March or having that conversation. But but then Zelda. Wow.
I mean, we literally got an email this week saying like, "What's your game of the year so far?" It's like
Zelda.
It is in fact only March.
Yeah.
I don't
Zelda.
even really think about that stuff until it's time to think about that stuff. Like I don't keep a running tally of just like this is my favorite game of the year. So I'm like,
but I'm having the internal conversation that Zelda is like maybe one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely like all time tier.
And I do not. I'm literally playing through Ocarina. I've never completed a Zelda game. First one was Wind Waker. I probably did about 20% of it and then fell off. And then I'm playing through Ocarina of Time at the moment. Just because
Which
I've never
version?
played it on the N64.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just playing it. It's I've not gone very far. But yeah, so I have no nostalgia for the series whatsoever, and this is just amazing, absolutely amazing.
They have assembled those parts into something really amazing. Like it's really awesome.
We were talking about like what would you call them, like simulation, like that Prey Deus Ex.
Immersive sims.
Like Zelda is like an open world immersive sim where the combinations of things that you can use.
It's just a bunch of interlocking rule sets that all interact with each other in interesting ways.
My problem is when it all interlocked into a stealth sequence, which I did over the weekend. That
Oh,
I was
really?
like, oh man, what a bummer.
I just did that.
Yeah, like it ended up not being as hard as I gave it credit for. Like I was initially being incredibly careful, and I was like, this is all the way not fun. And then I realized, like, oh, these people are idiots, and then that sequence got a lot easier. But
I love that we've entered the Zelda phase now, where it's just like blog posts on a bunch of different sites of like, here's how to do a thing that nobody ever thought this game was capable of.
And I'm
it's
staying away from them. I keep seeing like GIFs of stuff, like, and it's like, no.
I saw one this morning. Is just like, here's how to make your own airship, and somebody had attached like 15 of the what do they call them? Octobags or whatever. Yeah, like to a raft. And it was literally flying over, like they were using a leaf to make it fly over the landscape. It's just like, what is this game?
That's cool.
Like this whole weekend, I texted Rob Handler and Pete Brown, and I was just saying, when did you guys stumble across this? And they've probably played like 110 collective hours. They're like, that's in the game? They're like, I was like, when did you guys figure out you could do this? They're like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And then they do it. Like, oh my God. I actually get mad at the game that it can let me do a lot of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really remarkable.
Yeah. I feel like I've slowed down on it because I kind of hit that stealth. And some of the stuff in like the lead up to that sequence, like like getting out to the area that I'm trying to get to, like it feels like a real lull. Like it's kind of a low point maybe.
So much more scripted than the other 3 like major
does the story stuff drag? So I put like 20 hours into it just screwing around in the world, and then Mass Effect came along, so I haven't played it since then. But I had just gotten up to the Zora story stuff. Like I had just gotten to their city, and that was like the first story stuff I had even come close to touching. Like I've heard that stuff might be like the weakest part of the game.
Oh, really? The gameplay around it, I think, like the dungeon, the stuff. That
I mean, that's where I am now.
Yeah, I think that stuff is really interesting and well done.
Okay, I had seen some people say it kind of takes away from like the freedom of what makes the game so good.
It does. I mean, because it's when you're literally following waypoints and going to the next thing, and then it's like it's also puzzle solving on a slightly larger scale than the shrines are. So like I think that stuff is good, but once you're in, you're in. So it is that feeling of just like, instead of like, oh, I'm going to run over here. Yeah. It is that feeling of just like, I saved and now I'm back in this room and I'm going to trudge forward and finish this thing.
And at least you can back out of them.
You
come back.
You can.
There's like a fast travel.
But at the same time, like, it's a very different feel from the rest of the game in a way that I don't know is always great. Even though I've liked those parts of the game, they feel like very at odds with kind of the freedom and openness of the rest of it. So I see why people might say that about those sequences, but I think those sequences are really good on their own merits.
I'm interested to see if there's a way of like subverting the through line you're supposed to follow with those, because there aren't the shrines. Like there's been a couple of times where I've like finished shrine things in like ways I certainly was not supposed to do it that way, or like, I mean, they allowed for that, in a way. So I'm wondering if it's the same, because I'm actually stuck in that one at the moment.
With the shrine, with the dungeons, it ends up being like, okay, there are areas you need to get to and things you need to interact with. Right. So like maybe there would be puzzles you could kind of bypass, but you're still going to have to do all those things before it triggers, the conclusion.
Door opening or whatever. Yeah.
So I don't know how. For me, like the larger part is like being able to finish the game and skipping all of that stuff.
Right.
I watched the full speed run.
Oh, really?
The 56-minute speed run of finishing that game, and I'm sure someone's probably beaten it by now. That was like one night at PAX. I was like, I'm gonna sit down and watch this and eat room service.
Wow, that is so good.
I'm just curious, how did they go about doing it? Is it like like a wall clipping thing, or just like
no, it's legit. It is
the game lets you do it.
The only thing they're doing that I could see being patched out is that run trick I was talking about last week.
Oh yeah,
where if you do the whistle animation, if you hold down the whistle button and tap the run button, you can run with infinite stamina.
Right.
Which is a bad way to hold a controller. But I hate the stamina system in that game, so I'm willing to bridge that gap and claw my hand in a dumb way to just get somewhere faster. And supposedly there is an infinite stamina climbing glitch as well, which I would
that stuff.
No, it's terrible.
Oh, I love it.
I like it.
It's terrible.
I don't mind it.
It's. I just want to get somewhere. Like the act of getting somewhere shouldn't be a process of just like, oh, now I need to go slower for a little while, and there's kind of nothing here for me to do. I just want to get there. I'm not being chased by anything. Just let me get there. This is not great gameplay. Like the rest of it is so good. Let me get to the better stuff.
If they had divorced the run from the stamina meter and like left it for like climbing and stuff like that, that would
climbing stuff make more sense. Obviously, like there are things you get along the way that make climbing less of an issue, and that's kind of fun to uncover and deal with and stuff. But at the same time, like climbing in the rain,
right?
You're just like, well, this is the thing I want to do right now, and it's gonna be raining for another 20 minutes. I guess I'm gonna set the switch down and wait for the rain to stop falling.
What if you're in a place where it never stops raining?
Oh, I hate that.
Well, that's a separate problem to solve.
That's been my least favorite thing.
I love it.
That's a separate thing to solve.
For some reason, I'm super into the whole climbing. There's nothing I love more than looking at a mountain and being like, I will conquer you.
I'm into it on this level of just like, man, games don't really do this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of awesome that they've made this a challenge or something. Right. They've made like real gameplay out of this stuff. But now that I've done it and feel like I've got a good handle on it, there's a part of me that just like, just let me skip this. Just let me, like, can I fast travel up to the top of this thing? Like, what? This isn't. I've seen your system. I know how it works now. We're good.
Yeah.
Just I'm a friend. We're friends here. Just let me climb the mountain. So that stuff is still frustrating. And whatever. I say it every week, but all the menu stuff I think still sucks.
Yeah, it's a little bit funny.
Weapon, like item management, all that stuff is still bad.
Play a little more Mass Effect and then get back to Zelda. You will love those menus.
I don't know that I'm going to play anymore.
I'm just saying the menus are incredibly badly designed.
I will probably like, even though I'm very early on in Mass Effect, I still do have this sick, disgusting curiosity. It's like, I want to see the game they made.
It's
a lot of people spend a lot of time on this thing, and I kind of want to know.
It's worth at least getting a couple more planets open and kind of driving around those. Seeing what's there.
Unlocking all those areas in Zelda, like finding all those new biomes and stuff. Just the way it doesn't like tell you anything. Like I was waiting for like 20 hours for a tutorial to pop up and tell me how to use those fucking boats that are everywhere. And then I was like, wait, this isn't that game. I have to like figure it out. And then I figured it out and was like this is amazing.
I love that there are zones adjacent to the plateau where you start that are way too hard for you to actually be there.
Yeah.
You can, within 90 seconds, you could be in a place where things can kill you in one hit.
Right.
And they don't even tell you that.
Or even the weather can kill you in like 20 seconds.
Oh, I'm going to get struck by lightning over here, and now I'm just dead.
Yeah, figuring that out, like lightning and like all the cooking stuff, like just how that all comes together and like figuring out that system. Like they don't even tell you, like there's a fire there. Like just figure it out, Figure it out, kid.
Yeah, or I mean, there are books around to read that will give you kind of the general hints of like what cooking entails and, the item descriptions. Like it's in a Dark Souls-like way, the item descriptions really matter in that game. Because it'll tell you things like, hey, this is what this leaf is for.
Right.
Which I found that and went like, huh, but have never used a boat in that entire game.
Right. I didn't read the description. That's why it was 20 hours later.
It says right on it.
I was like, this is the worst melee weapon ever.
I'm pretty sure it says right on
it. I wonder if this is the game that it's going to take to make more developers like braver about letting people figure stuff out on their own.
I mean, I feel like that was Dark Souls.
Well, you thought it would be Dark Souls, but they didn't really penetrate the broader mainstream. But Zelda is as mainstream as it gets, right?
Like
if this game is bold enough to do that, then you would hope some more people
I think there's that,
suit.
and also I think you can look at stuff like Minecraft to a certain extent. When you look at like kids games and stuff like that, and how people think of like how handholdy games can get.
I guess a lot of the stuff in Zelda is more from like the kind of Steam survival game genre than it is Dark Souls.
And so you end up seeing stuff like like kids fucking figure out Minecraft in a way that like you don't have time to, old man. I don't have fucking time to. Because they will form a community around a game and discuss it, but also like they'll just experiment and figure it out.
I mean, at the risk of self-promoting, we literally did a documentary about this topic, and like the whole. I was talking to Derek Yu about it and like Spelunky and the way he came from it. Like he references the first Zelda against the second Zelda as like, this is the way people used to play games, because you used to talk about it in like the schoolyard with your buddies. You had that community of people who only had access to a couple of games, and you like chewed them up. And you in Zelda 1 you could find out where the dungeons were by like putting bombs in random places. By the time Zelda 3 came around, they had cracks on the walls. That's like a really good example of, here's a game in which we're going to allow discovery to happen, and here's a game in which we're starting to handhold the player. And like I feel like in the modern era, like games are so tutorialized and so handheld that now a game like Zelda or a game like Dark Souls, which Dark Souls would have fit in really well in the 80s. Like it's
there are things
adventure.
I have thought numerous times playing Dark Souls about how it feels like an NES game, in a lot of ways.
But it's so weird now because we're just so mollycoddled by
like and it's been neat. Like even though I still haven't really liked the Dark Souls games, like Dark Souls adjacent games, I've liked a little bit better in some cases. But that spirit I think is really important and exciting, because I think it's something that like hey, trust your players and trust that they'll figure this stuff out, especially in some of these games. Like Zelda's actually like a really bold thing, because that's a huge, the mainstreamest of the mainstream. So for them to be doing that there with this long running franchise that over the last 10 years has become one of the most handholdy
totally,
for them to kind of roll it all the way back and go, nah, we trust you. Like being able to say that about your player base, go like, we trust that you'll figure this out and that it'll be worth figuring out. I think it's weird that that's bold, but it is super bold. I think that them doing it with Zelda will be the thing that leads to a tipping point for this sort of stuff.
I hope so.
Yeah, between Breath of the Wild and even in the same vein, maybe not to the same extent, but Resident Evil 7, I think was a really good turnaround, especially considering that's Capcom's like flagship series, especially after the failure. Not failure, but falling short of the mark.
Kind of an inflection point for them.
Well, but then last year,
also
Street Fighter 5 didn't sell nearly as well as they wanted to, so they were kind of banking on 7, and they returned to their roots in a way, but also kind of push it forward. And I think the fact that like, I don't know, Japanese developers this year have been crushing it so far.
And that stuff, like there are big examples like that, but then a ton of smaller ones. And I think like people are getting the impression like, Japan is back, but it's like, Neo is not selling Zelda numbers. Like, it's not, like you can look at all these games and go like, oh man, it's really great to see Nier and Neo and all this other stuff coming out of Japan. It's been awesome. But
Yeah. Gravity Rush is not.
Wildlands, I think, still outsold the majority of those games.
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row on top of the UK charts,
Exactly.
I believe.
Yeah. And again, there's merit to that game. It's not. I don't want to cast it off as being total garbage. As that may have sounded, but I would rather play Nier or Neo.
Right.
For sure. Yeah, but it's been super exciting to see that stuff. Resident Evil 7 ends up being like a weird one in a lot of ways because it just feels like that back up against the wall. Like post Street Fighter 5. What the fuck's Capcom gonna do? They probably got a lot of money from Sony to make a VR game.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh well, maybe they got their money up front and they just maybe this game will just be a gong show. And then came out of E3 with like people saying they were just getting sick all the time. You're like, oh, RE7 is gonna be a fucking mess.
Yeah.
And then for them to pull it out and have it be like maybe one of the if not the first, but one of the first like big mainstream long VR games,
Right.
And have it be good either way, whether you're playing VR or not. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That they pulled all that off. That's really crazy. And to have it be this weird throwback to RE1 in a weird way.
Yeah, no, they
Like,
satisfied a lot. I'm a huge Resident Evil and Zelda fan, and they satisfied so many camps with 7. They got the people who like the earlier ones. This is essentially remake in first person in a lot of ways. They got the people who might be looking more action. I think the first person, literally just putting in first person perspective, kind of grabs them.
Yeah.
And they also have the people that kind of, I don't know, maybe tepidly stepping into VR, and now, I played through that whole game in VR and I loved it.
That's why I haven't played it yet, because I'm waiting to get a PlayStation VR.
You should. If at this point you haven't played it yet, I would definitely keep waiting, because that is a much scarier game in VR.
I feel like I want to wait and see if they did do a deal with Sony, if that eventually rolls out and they add it to Oculus or Vive, like on the PC, because I would probably rather play it there.
From talking to people over GDC, it sounds like that thing is never going to come out in anything else.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Nah, well.
Which I was, that's why I was like, I'll wait.
I still need to check and see, because they rolled out new tracking updates for PlayStation VR in that last set of firmware.
Right.
So I kind of want to set it all back up again and see if it is better than it was, because it sounds like it is at least a little bit better.
When did that update come out? Because I installed my hard drive yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
was it really?
Weeks,
I didn't even know.
Yeah, they were running a beta before that, but I'm probably going to get an external hard drive. I have one on my Xbox, and that's been good. So I'll probably get an external drive at some point.
That thing doesn't have that many USB ports, though.
Yeah.
I have a Pro, so the Pro has more.
I still only got one on the back, though. It's like, do you want a hard drive plugged in the back, or do you want the VR plugged in?
Yeah,
can't do both.
Right.
Yo, Brad.
Professional console, you couldn't put 2 USB ports in the back.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
True professionals own a hub already.
Wait, you can hub up on a
I
PS4?
highly doubt
You could
hub those
you
things.
could charge controllers and and probably
Power.
put your hard drive through a hub.
Right.
Mike, you been playing anything you want to bring to the table?
We
We haven't already talked about.
a lot of Zelda.
Yeah.
I went back to Nier because I played it. We got the copy, and I forgot how long before it came out. And there was that glitch that it would say it was done downloading on my PlayStation home, and they would say I could play it, and it would be done. But then I go in to play it, and then you get past the intro, and it'll say your game's not downloaded. But of course, because of the way you save your game in Nier, you have to be around those consoles in the world.
Right.
It wouldn't let me save, so I had to you put my PlayStation in sleep mode and then go play. I didn't have the Switch at the time, so I don't know what I did.
Yeah, that's right, because the start of that game, you have to get through like basically what that last demo was kind of in one go, right?
It's like 45 minutes or so. And then I lost all that because once I got into the open world because of that playing before it was done downloading, this one quest giver of a main quest wouldn't trigger. He would say, oh, so here, go do this. But then the objective marker would stay on him rather than out in the world.
So do you have to Russian roulette it the second time to be like, I hope it lets me do it this time?
Yeah, I mean, the second time, they actually pushed out a patch like before the release of the game. The day before or something, so I played it and I got past that part, and I'm really liking that game. Still want to beat Neo. I'm about halfway through that game. I like it a lot.
Not just any of these. It's amazing.
Neo was a huge surprise. I wasn't really looking forward to it too much. I love Dark Souls and Bloodborne, but yeah, Neo's awesome.
That grabbed me in a way that I wasn't expecting either. So.
Huge surprise. I mean, the things that it takes from Dark Souls are what pulled me to it, but I like a lot of what it does differently. Kind of weird, really weird, almost non sequitur, but it reminded me of Torchlight back. Torchlight 2 came out after Diablo 3.
Yeah.
And I remember playing Torchlight 2 and being like, this does a lot of things Diablo 3, it's like the king of that genre, didn't do well.
Yeah. Right.
It's like you kind of have to tip your hat to Torchlight. In this case, it's like I kind of have to look at Neo and say this does a few things better.
Like what?
I really like the fact that you're constantly finding more gear. I find I'm changing the way I play more throughout. And then you're coming up against this boss that uses electricity, and there are things like that. Like when you're using certain consumables in Bloodborne or something. I like Dark Souls. The order I like them is Bloodborne. It's my favorite, and then Dark Souls, Demon Souls 2 and 3.
So it's a little more like flexible with gear.
Yeah,
Dark Souls very much encourages you to all right, pick the weapon you like and stick with it
because
we're not going to give you enough items to try a bunch of different stuff.
No, Neo is I'm constantly finding things I like, but they also give you enough options to buff things that you get attached to, and also like your weapon familiarity. I think it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you'll get better with a sword the more you use it. The specific sword, not that class of weapon, like that actual sword. So it's kind of cool. It ties you to that weapon a little more. Obviously, the actual structure of the game is different. It's not this open world.
Right. Yeah, pop it back to the menu and stuff like that. Like that was something because I didn't know a lot about it when I started playing it, and so you get through that initial sequence, and then it presents you with the map, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, okay, all right, sure, why not?
Yeah.
That was startling, but it ended up being pretty cool. Like initially, I was like, oh, actually, maybe I wish it was a whole big world, but no, I think it's probably to that game's benefit.
Yeah, I've tried a couple of the Twilight missions, I think they're called. When you clear an area, you can go back, and it's like, whereas previously it was like a level 14 cap. Now it's like 45, and I went back when I was
even
higher.
like 100, yeah.
Sometimes it'll be crazy.
Sometimes they'll really buff those.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, that game. And I kind of like just the Japanese aesthetic of all the gear. You look like a badass samurai. Kind of like a just cherry on top of everything.
Samurai Dark Souls is definitely an idea that whose time has come, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's been a while since Onimusha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That game's worth checking out if you haven't yet.
Jason, you play any Nier?
I played a tiny bit of Nier. I got it on the PC. I just wanted to see how it would run.
Same here.
Yeah. It's running pretty good.
Okay,
it's a little
good.
strange.
There's questions on Friday
Yeah.
about the quality of that port.
Cutscenes are like
cutscenes
capped at 30 or sub 30. It looks like in some cases.
They seem fucked up.
And I'm running it like just 1080, and it's still cropped. Like it's running at 900, perhaps. I can't really tell.
I've heard some people having some kind of resolution issue around some of that stuff.
Okay. Like it's still doing a full screen 1080, but then it's got black bars on the top.
I set it to 2560 by 1600, and it filled up the display and all that other stuff. And so I haven't had any trouble with that.
Strange.
But those cutscenes are hard to watch.
Yeah, they're a little rough. I can't say it's a deal breaker, but
no, yeah.
It hasn't crashed yet. That's great. That's as far as I can tell.
That's a start.
I saw some people saying that it was crashing on them, but maybe that was related to the GeForce experience.
Oh,
right. So if you disable some of that shit, maybe it'll fix it for people. But I don't know.
All right, that sounds encouraging. I've seen conflicting reports about how good that port is.
It seems to play well. Okay. From the time I spent with it, it seems like the part you really, really care about is fine. But the cutscene stuff, it looks like a bug. I don't know. I hope they fix it, because it doesn't look like it's capped at 30. It looks like it's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it's variable. Yeah, for sure.
Not a stylistic thing.
Yeah. Well, if it is a stylistic thing, it's a bad
style.
Yeah. That game seems great. But I have not played a ton of it.
I can't wait.
I like the look of just the look of the characters and just the style of the, like when you kind of get through that initial sequence and get to like the station, you're kind of running around the circle of the station or whatever. That's all really awesome.
I've heard of so many people that are just digging back in because there's no there is a true ending, but it definitely gives you incentive to go right back in and play more of that game after you beat it. I can't wait. Yeah. But no, I've been playing Tokiden 2.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
right.
Jeez, man.
All right. Your Tokiden 2 minute starts now.
All right. So yeah, we played Tokiden. We did a quick look on it. I bounced off it real quick because it was a very, very by the numbers as far as a Monster Hunter.
You're talking about the first one.
Yeah, the first Tokiden.
That was a couple of years ago, year and a half.
Something like that. But yeah, because it was so just derivative, it didn't bring me in. So I had very low expectations for the second one. However, it is dragging me in a little bit. They're fleshing out the story, so it's a fantasy feudal Japan with a little bit of sci-fi actually mixed in this time.
There was none of that in the first.
Exactly, yeah. So then they're fleshing out some of the characters, and it almost feels like an action RPG as opposed to like a Monster Hunter style game. So
are you still hunting?
You can. Yeah, there's definitely mission based stuff, but they're really pushing you towards the main storyline, which feels like an ARPG. In that case, there's still, online you can go do quests with, friends and shit like that. So the general Monster Hunter loop is in formula is still kind of there, but they've broken away enough to where it's like, okay, all right, I think you're going for something here. Yeah. They have added a couple new weapon types and like a bunch of mechanics and stuff too. So, it's
Hearing
it's a
you say
cool
it,
sequel.
Yeah, hearing you say it is not just a Monster Hunter thing again.
Right.
Maybe I'll check that out. I don't know.
I can't wholeheartedly
of
recommend
course
it. Yet.
not. Yeah.
This is a Koei Tecmo game,
Yeah.
and the combat still kind of feels a little mashy, and I didn't like that in the first one either. Some of the new weapons and some of the new mechanics very deep and very like precise with their controls, and it's a little daunting. But they've got some training missions to help get your feet under you. But,
is this another Vita port? First one was a Vita port to PS4, right?
I want to say that they
Wasn't it ported from somewhere?
I want to say
or co-developed, but it kind of looked like a handheld game on a console.
Yeah.
There's
there's certain
again?
sacrifices you got to make, but yes.
Okay. Same thing.
Yeah, PS4
All right.
and Vita as well. The Vita one doesn't run all that great, and they've got some weird stuff with the touchscreen controls because in the game you really need to utilize the triggers because they've added a new mechanic called like a demon hand, which is like a spectral grappling hook of sorts.
Of course.
So
Get over here.
in like a Devil May Cry 4, has that like hook thing. It's used to the same effect in this. So yeah, there's some stuff going on. They're doubling down on like the skill, the style systems because you get ghosts, right? Like I've got Yagyu Jubei as a ghost, and I like affix him to me, and I get skills from him, and it's pretty neat. I'm genuinely surprised by how much they've added to this. It's still pretty fun. The combat is as like a it can get super chaotic. I talked about having to be very precise with some of the weapon sets. When it's on, it's like fucking. There's too much happening all at the same time. Like all my dudes are like they see just this basic enemy and they're like all throwing their special fucking shit. They're going in just mashing. I can't even get up to it in time before it's dead.
Let them do the work for you.
Yeah, but they've kept some of the stuff with like the boss fights. Where you purify specific weapon or not weapon, but body parts. Which is really interesting as well. So they've doubled down on a lot of good stuff. And, yeah, they're breaking away. But yeah,
check back with you.
Yeah,
over the course of the next 6 months.
I don't know. Like there's so much
2017 Monster Hunter.
There's so much out right now that I haven't touched.
Ridiculous.
Danny's talking about Horizon. He's talking about Zelda and shit, and I haven't been able to like scratch the surface on those. It's
Brad,
a bummer.
We're not done talking about games.
Why?
I want to mention one game.
I got one more game too.
You got one more game? I'm gonna 3 real quick. Night in the Woods. Start playing it.
Yeah.
Enjoying it.
Yeah.
Very good. Super different tone to everything else I'm playing right now.
Yeah.
What is it? What type of game is it?
It's like God, imagine it's just like a story game.
Okay.
It's
Like
platformer
adventure
in
game?
mechanics,
Or
and that's about
okay.
it. It's not
At
adventure
the
because
onset, it's kind of adventure.
it's
but
kind
it
of like
it
adventure
branches,
mixed with like the narrative hooks of like a walking simulator where like there is a really good world and you're going through
I was
it.
gonna say, is it like that? Is it the Ron Gilbert? Not the one that's just coming out.
Thimbleweed
No,
Park
the one
or-
before that. The
Cave?
The cave. Is it all like
No,
the
because
cave?
that's mechanically a platformer.
Yeah.
This might as well be a first, but it doesn't matter. Like you're just going from place to place.
Yeah.
But the way in which it's different is that like you kind of choose who you're spending time with during your story, or at least I'm getting the sense that I could be having a slightly different story. Art style and the writing is just great though.
Yep.
Like I did not grow up in the Rust Belt, but there are hooks in this that are very familiar to me in terms of like returning home and college life and seeing.
Is that where it's set?
I think it's set in like a sort of a Rust Belty town, right? Where like social immobility is at a height and people can't afford to go to college, and you've basically dropped out of college.
But it's also animals, right?
Yeah, and it's all anthropomorphic, which is really weird because like there was literally a cat running around, and I am a cat, but there was like a cat like on all fours. I think it was like.
I mean, that's the classic. That's a classic Goofy Pluto paradox, right?
Exactly, totally, yeah.
Wait, hang on, what's going on here?
But it's great. The dialogue and all that stuff is really well written. It's a very good story. Or like the conversations are fun, the situations are fun. It feels very contemporary. So like I feel like this is something for like people of ages like 25 to 40. It's like that sort of era.
It's of a moment.
Yeah. I like it a lot.
Cool.
I've also been playing Golf for Work Groups, which is a not out yet game that Alec Austin, who's like a Bay Area developer, is working on. It's like a
this is the follow-up to Golf ?
I think is it the same people?
I don't actually know.
No.
Is it? Okay.
It's a first-person wireframey multiplayer golf game.
That sounds a lot like Golf ?
Right, and a load of really fucked up stuff happens in it. I don't want to talk about, but it's weird and idiosyncratic. And the last thing I played, Brad, is fucking Quake Champions.
Oh man, you played it.
You played it.
All right. None of these jokers went and played it.
No,
Tell me about
it. I can't say where I play. I didn't play it.
Sure.
At PAX.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Fine.
I
Okay,
played Quake Champions.
Okay.
My elevator sort of review of Quake Champions. It feels super like Quake 3.
Okay.
And I think the added class stuff I think when you go back, and I loved, like, we both played a lot of Quake Live, right? And like, you play Quake Live as well a bunch. Like, I like Quake Live, but like that gameplay is sort of a bit simplistic now. Like having, choosing between essentially 4 weapons, right? And map control and all that sort of stuff. It's like super important. That's like the main pillar of a Quake experience, right? And this game has that. It feels like the maps I play were fun. It's like it's a nightmare. I'm getting slaughtered by everyone. Like the skill is really high.
It's so fast.
It's so fast.
Fucking fast.
And everyone, it's that same Twitch thing. Like when you're playing Counter-Strike 1.6 or you're playing like Quake 3, where like you better be the first person to either get the red shield or hit them with the railgun, or else you're fucked.
Yeah.
And the class stuff is not overbearing, but it's like I kind of like it. It's like a spice that's thrown in there. That's like, okay, they're playing as that character. They're able to do that one thing. And it's not like Overwatch where it's like, oh, I have to worry about these 12 things that are all happening.
Is it literally one ability per class that's different, or are there also things like moves or move speed and health and stuff like that?
I don't think so.
Vary, or is that all the
It's been a couple of weeks, so I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure I don't think so.
Yeah.
Hitboxes all seem the same. Like it's not. It's it's the same sort of way that way. It seems like an even playing field, but like you're worried about like this one general either movement or sight ability that they have. But like you also are whenever they pick up like quad damage, right? That's a variable that you're like, okay, it changes, or haste, or even if they get red shield. Like there was these things in Quake. I mean, the fact that they pick up a certain weapon,
right?
Like when they pick up rocket launcher, you're like, all right, I need to like get out of close quarters or away from walls and all that sort of stuff.
Not me, man.
Right?
I just go in there and hope for the best. And it never works out, but I'm having fun anyway. Okay.
Right. I had loads of fun getting creamed by people in this game, and haven't, and it was cool. Yeah, I was into it. I didn't play enough. I played a good bit. I didn't play exhaustively, so I couldn't tell.
What sort of modes are they? Like, is it all team stuff? Because it seems like they're
I was just doing 1v1 all the time.
Oh, 1v1. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just doing arena deathmatch, like
great.
Boom boom.
Okay.
Good. And that was good.
That was my concern, is that they would have an ability shooter, and then they would go like, well, team composition matters in ability shooters, so here's a 5-on-5, and that's all we're going to focus on.
This felt like a Quake 3 mod. This felt like somebody took Quake 3 and then added in a thing where each character's got a weird thing.
That's probably the most promising thing you could have said.
I look forward to someone actually just making this game as a Quake 3 mod.
Tear all that stuff down again.
It's like, it's a free-to-play thing. How about instead just download this?
So I went in, I don't know, I went in with like sort of mediocre expectations, so take that into account, but I came out of it being like, okay, no, they're making a Quake game. This is cool. This feels like Quake Deathmatch.
That sounds promising.
So, I mean, fingers crossed. Yeah.
Excellent.
Keep going.
Cool. Okay.
I wanted to talk about everything.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I guess I have 2 games to talk about.
Yeah.
All right.
So I booted up everything.
I've played everything.
Started off as a sheep. The sheep doesn't move, but you can like.
I started off as a mountain lion.
Really?
Yeah.
Man. And then I turned into a caterpillar. And then I sang, and then
my head's shaking on the side of the table.
Yeah.
Audio dialogue, and then I was.
And you woke up, and the bat salts were gone.
And then I moved around. What the fuck is this game, Jeff?
It's everything.
It's everything.
Everything's out on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
This week.
What's that guy's name? David
O'Reilly.
Yes.
He made
My
Mountain.
Peoples.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Where you get to be a
mountain.
Yes.
Went
from a game where you get to be a mountain.
From the makers of Mountain.
Right.
It's maybe what will help you understand what everything is most of all.
What did he make before Mountain?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, sorry.
Couldn't
I remember hearing about this thing before.
So everything is, you can kind of you can possess a lot of different objects and everything and control them.
You see that poop on the ground?
Yeah.
You can be that poop on the ground.
And so you look at it and you go like, it's just a poop with question marks on it because you have not possessed poop before. And then you possess it and it just eventually lights up as this turd. That's what they've decided to call the poop in this game, is turd. You can also be plants. You can be a tree. You can be a galaxy. You can be a coin. You can be bugs. You can call other similar objects to you and move as a group. And once you have more than 2 in your group, you can hold down a button to make them dance. And as they dance, you can start to spawn new yous to grow your posse. And then you can split it up, or you can ascend or descend to be like, okay, well, now I'm at this ground level and all these bugs and coins and gum and all this other shit that's down here. I want to be a building.
Okay.
You can be a building, and then you can make the buildings dance. And you'd be like, I'm going to be this bus for a while.
So is there a win condition, or is this Nobby Nobby Boy?
This is
where you're just like doing whatever.
It kind of seems like an interactive screensaver.
Okay.
In a lot of ways.
Like Mountain.
Yeah. I mean,
there is like an autoplay thing as well. There's something in the options about what autoplay can set.
And you can kind of turn things on and off as to like what autoplay will do. So you can kind of leave it to its own devices and it will do its thing. Cool. And that actually sounds kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Too. It's got a very cool style to it where, like, in lieu of making good running animations for these animals, everything just like dumps over like a wheel. So it's just like a barely animating mountain lion that is just dumping over itself, rolling forward, very rigidly the whole time.
Right.
And it's great. I think it's really kind of amazing. It's, I don't think it's going to be for everybody, but there's a lot of stuff you can be because everything, as it turns out, is a lot of stuff.
Right.
But there is a list, and you can tell what percentage of things you have been.
Yeah, they track that for you.
And all that sort of stuff. So and then along the way, you unlock some audio. You find some audio samples from, I believe his name Alan Watt.
Okay.
And he's a
they're like,
he's a
this
guy
is from a
that
speech in 1968.
Exactly,
or something.
and he's basically like distilling down like Buddhist philosophies in a Western sense.
Cool.
And so you hear him kind of laying this stuff out, and you're like, all right, yeah. It is very chill.
Okay.
And then you get up to the huge galaxy level, and suddenly you're just a bunch of polygons and all this other stuff. But you can go all the way down and be single cells.
That's cool.
So
it's like Katamari.
Yeah, it has like that kind of feeling of, and that kind of like whimsy into its art style in some ways too.
Speaking of which, it kind of sounds a little bit like Watam, that new Philomena thing.
Watam
right?
I don't know that ever came out.
Is it coming out?
I'm not sure.
I haven't heard anything about it in forever.
Exactly. Same here. They were showing it at PAX for a while, and
yeah,
I don't actually know. You could probably draw a few similarities there, I guess. But yeah, it's some shit, man. I had a good time with it. We'll record some video of it this week and put it up on the site. It's neat.
Cheap and cheerful, or
it's like 15
bucks,
something like that. Yeah.
Cool.
Is that with or without the LSD that you need?
That is definitely sold separately.
Right.
You have to buy the physical collection.
You have to,
Yeah.
you had to like, that's part of the Double Fine Kickstarter. I think it just shows up.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
comes with a spoon.
Yeah.
A lighter.
To be serious about that, like, I don't think it's as trippy as maybe you're making it out to be, but it's definitely like a chill, like, I don't know.
Zen kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not LSD. There might be some other stuff that,
All right.
Yeah.
I'll
and
try
then
it all
also, I just want to make sure, Type Shift.
Yes.
Has anyone played Type Shift?
I started playing it last night and have not stopped.
Type Shift is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It is a mobile game on the iOS platform.
Okay.
And it is basically, it'll present you with a bunch of letters, and you can slide each letter up and down. You'll see it's not A to Z. It's just like, hey, there'll be 4 letters on this line, and you're kind of doing it to make words. And so in its basic form, you are just kind of making words, and as soon as you've made words with every letter on the board, you move on.
Okay.
The cooler part are the clue puzzles, which are basically like a twist on crossword puzzles, where it gives you like 10 crossword puzzle style clues.
Like cryptic ones?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then you have to slide it to find the word that fits that, and then tap the clue to solve it. And those are the ones that I've been buying.
those sound really awesome.
Definitely.
It's very simple. Also, if you have a phone that has haptics in it, a newer iPhone, it's the fucking best use of haptics I've seen on a phone. Like every time you slide, it's got this very satisfying click.
Cool.
Yeah.
And as you're tapping the clues, it's got a deeper click. Like it feels good. Type Shift is really great. It's free, but I have bought some packs.
Yeah.
I just started downloading it.
Yeah, I recommend checking that out.
Did it just come out?
It came out last week.
The clue
late
puzzles.
last week.
The clue puzzles are fun because once you if a letter that you just used has no more uses, it'll blank that square out. So
Yeah.
you kind of start eliminating letters.
Right.
Like say you don't know what 8 of the clues are, you could do
Right.
these 2, and like true to being a crossword puzzle, it'll make the next one possibly easier.
So you'll start to narrow it down.
Yeah.
It seems just very smart.
Yep.
I was really taken with it.
And if you feel like being a geek like me, if you accidentally make a word, you have no idea what it means, just tap on it, it brings up the
cool.
definition. I don't get too far into that, but
Increase your word power.
some of them are words I would never use.
What was it again? Type Shift?
Type Shift. Yeah. I don't know if it is on Android currently or not, but it is
looking
on
right now.
iOS.
Because I don't
Downloading.
Yeah.
see it. Boo.
I don't play many mobile games, but that
Right.
I've
Yeah.
It's been a
getting
while
into
for
that.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Cool. Good to hear. All right, we're going to take one more break and then come back with some news and emails.
All right. Audiobooks. Audiobooks.
Hang on.
Like an audio podcast, but more of a narrative thing. Like a book that you put in your head instead of in your hands.
Through which
Through Audible.
hole?
The whichever holes you've got.
Ear hole.
Your ear holes, I'm going to say, are probably going to be the most effective.
You said put it in your head. I'm just like, how's that going to work?
Look, do you love books but find you never have the time to read them?
I sure do.
With Audible, with Audible, you can get audiobooks and listen to those books you've been meaning to read on the go. They got a free app on iPhones, iPad, Android, Windows Phone.
That's all of those.
You can even download and listen on your Kindle Fire or even over 500 MP3 players.
Wow. Diamond Rio.
I'm not going to go out on a limb here and say that it definitely supports the Diamond Rio, but I'm going to say it probably supports the Diamond Rio. With Audible, you own the books, so you can access them anytime, anywhere, right from your phone. They also have the great listen guarantee, so if you decide you don't like the book you chose, you can exchange that book for another title anytime, no questions asked.
That's generous.
Yeah, how about that? Turn walking the dog into the biggest adventure of the day.
Okay.
With an audiobook.
Yeah. Do two things at once.
From Audible.
Multitask.
You can't make more time, but you can make the most of it. Turn your commute or chores or walk or travel or workout into something more with a free trial at Audible. Go to audible.com/bombcast and start now.
All right, let's move on to the news. There it is. Pretty slow week in headlines. Not a whole lot going on this week. Y'all like financials?
Love them.
Oh, God, give me
tax season, baby.
You like
fucking
you like
dollars.
business?
Shit, I got it.
You like business?
I got to do my fucking tax.
You want to hear about a fiscal year?
I got my back
Tell
just
me.
the other day.
Wall Street Journal is out with a report that Nintendo was planning to double the production of the Switch that they had initially planned over the next fiscal year.
Cool.
Which
Good.
starts in April of next month.
Were the original numbers conservative, perhaps?
I had it in front of me, and now I'm trying to find it.
They are out there kind of talking about like, hey, this thing's selling really well. It's been great. So I guess this backs that up.
Okay, yeah. So they were planning on producing 8 million Switches over the next year, and they have now doubled that to 16 million.
All right.
Which, according to the journal's analysis, means that they expect to sell more than 10 million of those in the next 12 months.
Cool. Let's get some more games out on it.
Yeah, obviously.
It's looking pretty.
I was gonna say, like, that's for as great as Zelda is and all that sort of stuff. Like, there will be people for whom Zelda is not the type of game they should be playing.
Yeah.
And that Wii audience and stuff like that. There are gonna be people that pick that up and can't handle it.
Yeah. This has been mostly a mobile device for me as well, so I'm interested in some of the indie stuff.
Yeah.
But like, that's gonna
Splatoon 2, have you excited?
I don't know. I literally got the first one on Wii U like 3 weeks ago. So,
Yeah, I haven't.
yeah.
I never played.
and I have the new demo thing, but I don't know when the games are going live.
I think it's end of this month or something.
Oh, is it?
Is when
Okay.
they're gonna take it live.
So I'll give it a go. Yeah, it should be fun.
It's the first game was very well made.
Yeah.
I think it has a tremendous style, and it was the sort of thing that you definitely didn't expect Nintendo to be making.
Right.
I think that probably helped. But
Expectation.
yeah, I wonder. Yeah,
I find it hard to play on a big screen because the small screen looks so good. So when I go to the
just
big
overall,
screen,
just Switch games in general.
1-2 Switch I'm fine with because it's just video.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
it's kind of dumb and hokey. And I had some fun with that with the in-laws over my brother-in-law's family over after PAX. That was actually quite good. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe
It's
something
I
else
mean
to do.
I played. We were just talking. I played Zelda the whole way back from Boston.
Right.
On that flight, looking at that screen, I was like, "This is a great time."
Yeah.
And then got home, docked it to the. So I just bought a new TV recently. That is real cool, and docked it to that, and it was this feeling of just like, this actually looks like shit blown up on this TV.
Yeah.
Like and also runs way worse because the frame rate is
Right.
markedly worse when docked, and I had kind of been in the camp of like, oh, it seems fine, and then I played a ton of it handheld, and then got home and docked and went like, what?
Yeah.
Did it always run like? Is it broken? And then pulled it out. And went, oh right, no, that is a real issue. Yeah. And so now I'm reluctant to play Zelda on a TV.
Yeah, what a shame.
I play it handheld
that's
at
the world
home
we're in.
all the time, and I'm fine with it. Like I don't care. Like I just lie down in bed or I sit in the sofa and I don't
But
look at
it's
the television.
it's just a shame you have to make that
Yeah.
value judgment, though. Like I thought the dream of this thing was going to be, it's exactly the same in every way, no matter whether you're on the go or on your couch. But yeah, it didn't work out.
It's the equivalent of like if you played, when you like play Doom, if you go back and play the first Doom, and like, or Quake actually is a better example, because you hit that minus and plus, right? And it like looks really good when it's small, and then you blow it up, and it's like,
if I could hit the minus key once or twice on Zelda, I would do it.
Totally.
And play it on
Also,
TV.
it used to run way better when you minus it down a bunch. I used to play it in a little window because my computer couldn't handle it.
Yeah. So whatever. That doesn't get in the way of the game's quality or anything, but it just has led to me being like I'd just kind of pick up the Switch and play it. Like, even though it's the same case of like how I played a lot of Mario Maker, is just like I'm sitting in front of a TV, huddled over this dumb thing, getting a hunchback. That's a dumb move. I shouldn't do that, but it just looks better and runs better on the little screen, which is weird.
Did you take like the dock and everything out there to play on the TV with? Like, how does that stuff travel?
Easy enough.
Is it okay?
I lugged it around when we first got our office unit in here. I kind of took the dock home and all that sort of stuff. Like, hooking it all up was kind of a pain in the ass, but that was more because the HDMI cable that I was going to use to plug into the Switch had a big old like filter, whatever, the Ferris core or whatever on it. So I couldn't. It wouldn't fit in the dock. I could put it in the dock, but I couldn't close the thing. Yeah. Like, oh, that's dumb.
Oh, I did that thing where I put the wrist straps on the wrong way around.
Just right, you did. Yeah.
Oh my god, it was hell.
Match the plus to the plus and the minus to the minus.
I should have seen.
That stuff doesn't stand out very well.
It does not.
I mean, just don't make it fit the other way.
Yeah. Also that.
Like, fuck, it took like 30 minutes. It was awful.
But it didn't break, right?
Did not break.
Okay.
Thankfully, there was lots of YouTube tutorials out there telling me what to do with it, but
I just saw a lot of videos of people just going, just trying to pull it off.
Hell, yeah, it was awful.
Yeah,
but don't play Horizon and then play Zelda as well. That looks great on TV.
Yeah.
From a new console to an old one.
Ooh, the Neo Geo, go.
It sounds like Sony's killing off the PS3 in Japan.
Yeah, according to production.
According to they say shipments. They didn't specify, but I pulled this story off of Kotaku where they went to the product page for the PS3 in Japan. They're down to one model there, which is the 500 gig charcoal black one.
Right.
And the page now says, quote, shipments are scheduled to conclude soon.
Oh.
So.
It lasted the Wii U.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it did.
It's not bad.
That's sad.
Yeah, like when you start looking at the dates that the Wii U was out and viable and all this other stuff, like you start to realize like, oh man, this is like an abandoned ship type of move.
Wii U is like full on original Xbox territory of like that thing barely made it over 4 years.
Yeah.
And they just kind of killed it off.
Also, if you use one now after playing the Switch for like 2 weeks, it's like using like a VTech fucking fake laptop.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've played some Mario Maker since the Switch came out, and been like, oh man, this thing.
It's like using a Nokia 3210 or something.
Come on. I'm playing Zelda on a Wii U. Don't say that.
You should check out a Switch. Those things feel good in the hand.
I kind of want one of those new Nokias.
Have they brought those back? No.
Like really? They did it.
It's like Air Jordan.
It was a full on like a kitschy kind of neo nostalgia thing of like literally big splash page is like, hey, you remember this thing, right? You want another one? And like they've totally
Snake.
It literally has a really cool looking version of Snake on it, like nice modern graphics, but it's still just Snake.
Like a really cool version of Bomberman.
Kind of. Yeah. And it's like $50 and the battery lasts a month.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
It kind of is like I can see the appeal of a non-smartphone.
Yeah, if I had a need of a burner, I would. Or when I have need of a burner again.
Right.
Anyway, that's what is it? Almost 11 years since the PS3 came out.
That's crazy.
The 10-year plan.
Seems
they were right all along.
Yeah, right. I bought a PlayStation 2 memory card off Amazon Prime yesterday. What the fuck?
Like new in package?
It was like, I don't know.
Magic Gate technology, all that good stuff.
2-day shipping,
yeah.
$7. I was like, what world do we live in right
now? Yeah, that's weird.
Right?
Weird.
You see the guys at Ben Hansen over at Game Informer? He bought that used memory card, PS1 memory card at like a used game store, and he had this dream that he wanted to go through the save files and try to find the person.
It's been a video series he's wanted to do for...
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't watched it. Was he successful in any way?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
They found out the guy's name, though, because all the save files were like Brad or something, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Don't like to talk about my Minneapolis years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good. I bought an analog NT Mini.
What's the NT Mini again?
It is the FPGA based NES.
Oh, is that what you're talking to Peter about?
Yeah, Peter has. I bought one of those. It's fucking rad.
Yeah?
It is super expensive. and kind of crazy. But there's a bunch of custom firmware out, and the guy that made that is also making custom cartridge adapters.
Oh, cool.
That will hopefully be able to eventually plug real cartridges into it and play in television games and ColecoVision games and all this other shit.
Right.
Can
you dump off that thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like actually a really effective way to dump NES games, which up until whatever, there have been cheaper options than this thing,
right.
But it's cool to have that built into this like really high quality device, and it'll play Master System and Game Gear things with this unofficial firmware on it. It's amazing after playing a lot of old games in an emulated fashion and stuff like that, going to this thing where like their whole pitch is like, hey, this is like latency, like very low latency, all this other stuff, and we've got control of the frame, all this other stuff. Like, I don't usually feel latency,
right?
But it actually does feel better.
That's cool.
I'm better at Jackal on that thing than I am on a PC
An emulator?
or whatever. So yeah, it's cool.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Speaking of NES games, did you guys see this Disney Afternoon Collection?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Where the hell did that come from?
What a great name for that thing.
That's not bad.
Yeah, this is another Ocean or a Digital Eclipse joint.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they revived the Digital Eclipse, so the Mega Man Legacy Collection.
Oh, I know, but I thought Digital Eclipse didn't exist anymore.
They brought that name back, I think, for Mega Man.
I just clicked through Digital Eclipse on the Wikipedia page for this thing, and it linked to Backbone Entertainment.
Right.
Yeah, like they kind of got the name back up and running.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Mega Man Collection, was that kind of messy?
That was good.
What am I thinking of?
You're thinking of it was the iOS Mega Man games that Capcom just put out, or like a
totally different thing. Yeah.
But no, that thing was like that had a real attention to detail to it,
cool.
and some good stuff. This, whatever, man, DuckTales is a fucking great game.
Yeah, this is it's 6 games.
DuckTales,
DuckTales 2, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers,
Rescue Rangers is awesome,
and Rescue Rangers 2.
Yeah,
it's like kind of all the Disney games, right?
Yeah,
well, except for the movie ones, except for like Aladdin, like
but
from the NES, maybe it's getting there. There were some Mickey Mouse games anyway, but
all the weekday afternoon shows, which as the name implies,
that's a good name. It's a great name, and it looks like they've got access to some source material and all the extra stuff. They same type stuff they had for Mega Man.
Yeah, they mentioned some supplemental material.
Looks good.
And filters. Anybody? 1080p. Scaling.
Okay. All right.
Is on the feature list. Woo. Should play DuckTales with 1080p.
Finally.
Can I have some fake scan lines?
I bet.
Jeff loves those.
Definitely have.
I bet they have that for you. If I had to guess.
Some CRT bulge.
Just me and John Carmack.
Oh, you know what?
Over here saying fake scan lines. That's right. It's in good company.
They're also adding gameplay stuff. They're adding like boss rush and time attack modes.
Yeah.
And a rewind feature.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah.
Those games are hard, probably.
I want to say some of that stuff was in the Mega Man collection, but I don't know
interesting.
for sure.
So maybe they have this engine ready to go. They were just able to slap other ROMs into.
So
to some extent,
I don't know that this is raw emulation because of like companies. It's Frank Cifaldi worked on that Mega Man thing, and I think he gave a GDC talk about it, kind of saying like, "Hey, yeah, to some companies, emulation might be a dirty word, so we went and did this other crazier thing to satisfy that." Yeah, I'm misquoting a lot of this stuff, but it sounds like that it was a little more involved than building an NES emulator and just slotting shit into it. When that probably would have actually sufficed. But
this thing sounds well made. It's $20 coming out next month.
That's soon.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Kind of scraping the barrel this week.
Do it.
You guys care about Primal Rage 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
You can play it now.
Now?
Have you played it?
I don't have to go to Chicago to play it.
No.
Is that where the machine is?
Yeah. Galvan Ghost has that machine.
Okay. Bring it to me.
Apparently, it's playable now through emulation.
Yeah, it's
like finally.
So it's been.
It was never released. So for people that don't know,
right? Yeah. So the images and ROMs and all that stuff have been out there for a long time.
Right.
But they
didn't work.
But
correctly,
MAME,
is my understanding.
It wasn't really working correctly in MAME. So it sounds like what this. There's a guy out there that has a custom version of MAME that runs it. So basically, he has spent some time hacking around it to get it to run, and it might not be running 100% properly as it would on real hardware, but it's playable.
Also, the game was never finished, so you kind of have to expect,
so it's kind of hard. It's hard to know.
Expect some issues.
But it's not hard to know, I guess, because it's up and running at that arcade in Chicago. But Yeah, so like he cut the corners that the MAME team does not, because their focus is on accuracy and all that other stuff. So it sounds like he hacked together some ways to make it work,
like a game specific.
Yeah, and so this is a version of MAME that only supports one game.
Right.
This is against the MAME laws.
And so
I want to say they've done stuff like that with Killer Instinct as well, standalone stuff.
Maybe, but KI just runs in KI and
Really?
KI2 just runs in MAME now.
Okay.
It has for a while, but yeah, so that's cool that game can be seen and played by people, because I don't think it's that great. I never did.
Two or one?
Both. I mean, if we're being honest, both.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked good. That was the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it was.
And 2 is
like,
crazy.
wow.
Like they take it in some really weird directions.
You could make that dinosaur pee on somebody.
Fucking A. Yeah.
Forget about that.
I think it was the monkey that.
Was it the monkey
Yeah,
that did the
might
pee?
have been,
I think so.
Okay.
Why did 2 never come out?
Because it was a bad game, they canceled it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think Atari just looked at it and where Atari was in the mid '90s or whatever when this was all happening.
Yeah.
They were not in a position to put out games they didn't think were going to make money.
How do we compete against Tattoo Assassins?
Right, yeah. Or, like mid 90s, Capcom's rolling with, Alpha games and all this other stuff. Like, is Primal Rage 2 gonna, make money in that market?
Right.
Like, probably not. So they were probably right to cancel it. I remember the first time I saw Primal Rage 1 was at, I guess it would have been CES still. It might have been pre-E3. And it was another case. There are a couple of these of me and Ryan McDonald seeing a game before it's out and then stepping away from it and then having someone walk up and go, "What'd you think?" And then us going, "Seems fucking terrible."
Ooh, wow.
And him going, "Oh yeah, well, I work for Time Warner. Hi, how you doing?" Like, and then immediately introducing themselves as someone who is associated with the game. We did the same thing to Mortal Kombat 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, so like from the get-go, I was like, "Oh, look at these dinosaurs. This is sure dumb." And then playing it, you're like, all the ways you do the special moves are super stupid in this game. Like, what is hold them down, do this? Like, it's just, it's never a Primal Rage fan. But it's cool that stuff is out there and playable, even if it is in some super weird way.
Sounds like it's relatively complete.
Yeah, it seems like there's a whole lot of game there. So
does that make it eligible for scientific
I
evaluation?
mean, we took a look at the science of Tattoo Assassins at one point, and that game was also not released commercially. So
was it finished though officially?
Let's say no.
Okay. Sounds like it's eligible.
Sounds like it would be.
Yeah. That's it for news. Not much going on this week.
It's a good thing we talked about games for like 4 hours.
Yeah, I know, right? There are some video games out there. All right, let's read some emails. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address. Okay. Ed from Atlanta.
What up, Ed?
What's up,
Old Atlanta Ed.
Jeff might be able to answer this, considering he just bought a TV. I recently made my first big TV purchase, a 50-inch Vizio 4K UHD smart TV.
Man, they're watching what you're watching.
That's
Be
right.
careful.
Yeah, too smart, that TV.
Anticipating that I would eventually buy a PS4 Pro later this year. Wasn't it Samsung's?
Vizio,
It was
isn't it?
Vizios.
No,
Yeah,
I
that's
thought it
why
was-
the Vizios are so cheap.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about? The CIA stuff?
No, we're
Oh,
talking about
the-
like Vizio literally selling data.
Oh, they
Yeah.
monitor
Screen grabbing
yes,
what you're
yes,
watching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so private data collection versus public data collection.
Yeah.
We got one in my house, man. They know my wife plays a lot of Tokyo Jungle. I don't like that. It's
Not
my
okay.
information.
That's not okay. Yeah, you're the only one that gets to know that.
Exactly.
It's exclusive, explicit information.
Anyway, it says, after setting everything up, I did some reading and realized the TV did not have HDR, probably my fault due to poor research and assuming 4K just meant 4K. My question is HDR important in getting the most out of PS4 Pro? Does HDR have a significant edge over UHD? I got my Vizio relatively cheap, but now I feel like I'm stuck from upgrading for a while, and I'd be really disappointed if I am missing out on a much better experience.
HDR is really just like the lighting, the
brightness.
Brightness.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a contrast
darkness.
thing. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's better blacks, I guess, and
It's
brighter,
more better whites.
better
right?
whites,
Like
I
brighter,
guess.
brighter
Yeah,
whites.
brighter whites,
And darker
It's
black. So
basically
like,
the Tide, the
Yeah.
detergent of television
right.
upgrades.
So it is separate from.
Oh, I guess HDR, yeah.
Or it is not one or the other UHD versus
Yeah.
HDR. It's
Yeah.
like, so my TV is a 4K TV that also does HDR. And then there were some cases, like in earlier firmwares on this TV, where it couldn't do HDR when it was in game mode because they weren't thinking along those lines of like, they think game mode is like zero processing and HDR is processing on top of that. So then they realized like, oh, games are going to use HDR, so we need to account for that. And so now there's an HDR game mode. Anyway, HDR seems really good in my specific case in terms of like I have to use, and I've limited, I haven't played a ton of games on it yet, but in the case of a game like Wildlands that has like night vision and stuff like that. Like I almost never have to use night vision in games because it never gets dark enough.
Totally.
You can just like, well, whatever. This game actually now gets dark enough and doesn't on other TVs.
Is that like your TV? It looks like it's off almost.
Yeah,
like
so I have an OLED, so it does.
OLED's also really good at that.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to know where the OLED stops and the HDR starts.
Right. Okay.
But it looks damn good. So I don't know. It's hard to say. This stuff is such a mess, and I think everyone's going to have their own take on the cost versus the feature set and stuff like that. So I don't think there's any one right answer. But more and more games support HDR, and they support it on base consoles as well. So like the baseline PS4 and the Xbox One S, maybe is it just the S?
Yes.
Support HDR. So that's a way you could be getting something out of your current consoles without having to get a Pro, I guess.
It sounds like a nice to have, but not like a crucial. I haven't heard anybody say HDR is like, oh, but you have to get this. Like everybody says, like, yeah, it looks better.
I might also say that 4K is a nice to have and not necessarily a vital thing right now.
Yeah.
So it's at some point I view it as if you're going to go for it, go for it.
Yeah.
And go all the way with this stuff so that you don't feel like you have to make another change in a few years. To another TV.
Yeah.
But to each his own.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the reaction has been just measured enough for me that I stepped back and evaluated my 5-year-old plasma, and I was like, maybe I can wait a couple more years. I don't see nobody is jumping out of their chair who's bought one of these things and saying, like, you have to get this right now.
For me, I think it's been primarily just the OLED screen.
That's what I'm
and just being like, man, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fucking awesome TV. And it will also, collect your voice and do all this other stuff. I had to turn a bunch of stuff off.
Love it.
Yeah.
So never hook your TV up to the internet.
Well, to do firmware updates, you have to, and then I might just disconnect it now. But at the same time, it runs apps, and like, it's like kind of cool that there's a built-in Plex app for this TV, or a built-in like WWE network or whatever, and YouTube. Like some of the other stuff that you might use, because I don't have any television in my house, so or any I have no cable no nothing. So it's kind of cool to have some of that stuff in there.
That's clean living.
Yeah.
Adam from Canada. I recently picked up Nier Automata on the PC, and I was pleasantly surprised that it was a decent port of the game. During the run-up to the PC release, I heard quite a bit of discussion about the gaming culture in Japan. My understanding is the Japanese developers often don't release their games on PC, and when they do, the ports can be questionable. The reasoning I've heard is that the PC is not a popular gaming platform in that country. Is this actually true, and why? I feel in the last 10 years, the PC has become a very healthy platform, and I wonder why that would not be true in Japan.
I think part of it's just cultural.
Yeah.
But the reason the ports need to be good is because they can't afford to just make games for the Japanese market. Like these have to be released worldwide, and I think there is a firm crossover between the people that care enough about games to really want to go down the rabbit hole on some of this slightly more obscure or niche kind of Japanese developed stuff, and the people that would own a really good PC.
Yeah.
So at some point, like those things just crossed, and it just makes sense to have a good PC port for, like Metal Gear Rising, some of these other stuff that like in the past you wouldn't have expected it to get a great PC port.
I mean those two like fan bases did seem to be totally separate, like Venn diagrams for the longest.
But now you see like tons of visual novels on Steam and all this other stuff. Like clearly there's a market for Japan oriented content. On the PC. So
but like the answer to that bigger question of why isn't the PC bigger in Japan, like I don't have a better one. Like, it's a cultural thing, I guess, but I feel like that's like frustratingly vague, It's like why is it a cultural thing? Like,
I think
why do people not?
Because people communicated because they were using phones to communicate with each other, texts and posting to image boards and all this other stuff. Well before we were.
Right.
And so just the internet culture develops differently there. And now the iPhone is big there, and it's kind of unifying around a lot of things, but also now the iPhone is big there. So no one ever used a PC specifically to get on the internet.
Okay.
Because they were using phones.
They went straight to handheld devices.
They went straight to handheld. So it just it never caught on as something that people really needed unless they were in a specific type of business where they needed one, and then it wasn't really a gaming machine most of the time.
Right.
You have like your kind of like Dojin developers that are making like things on PC and selling them in Ziploc bags. I'm sure that's still happening.
And I mean, the console stuff was so embedded as well. Like Nintendo had such a hold on to be able to,
And arcades, like people would still go out, and people still do go out and play that stuff out.
I mean,
there,
I don't know a ton about it, but I have read that's very much like part of the Japanese mindset like being out in society is the place that you live. Like your home is where you go and sleep and eat and stuff, but like it's not like a place that you stay for leisure a lot. At least in the bigger cities, like where your home is very small.
Yeah,
there's tons of stuff to do, but also your place is like a closet.
It's a very densely packed like set of islands as well. It's like the opposite of America. America's so broad. America's like space for days, and your houses are fucking huge, even by European standards. So like, I can totally see how like also having like a dedicated space for this large hot box might necessarily
like this giant tower that has
and a desk that goes with it.
Yeah,
it became the same reason why like first person shooters weren't big there either. Or kind of a knock on effect of that. It was like like those Western developed games didn't necessarily gain popularity over there for sort of the same reason. Like just no one had the hardware to grow up that way.
Right.
You remember it was a huge deal when like that ban on consoles lifted in China?
Right.
And then I remember like Microsoft was talking about they're going to have this huge push into the console market there. They didn't get anything out of it because it was so entrenched. That's where, like it's all MOBA games and pay to
PC stuff.
Yeah.
And free to play and cafes and stuff.
And I think Sony's actually like they're 2 years in with the PS4 or just about in China now. And I think they're starting to make a dent. Like, you see them like the PlayStation VR is available there. Like they're doing stuff, but like that cultural thing of like, hey, we're going to go out to this, net cafe and we're going to sit here and play StarCraft. Or
South Korea, obviously,
League of Legends or whatever.
Super PC focused.
Yeah.
Also, Chris writes in from Germany and asks, why is Mass Effect the only space opera RPG in town? I've been racking my brain to find an alternative to Mass Effect when it comes to RPGs that happen to be set in space, but I'm really finding nothing. The only other titles or franchises that I can think of don't fit into the RPG space at all, and they're either shooters, Halo, Gears, and Destiny, or RTSs, StarCraft, Halo again.
There's that Star Trek The Next Generation adventure game.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Elite Force.
No.
Freelancer.
Elite Force is all right.
Yeah, I like those. What about Freelancer? That's
he just says why is this a sign of the general unpopularity of space operas, which I don't believe since we've gotten several big movies out of the genre recently, as well as The Expanse, or a sign of the general unpopularity of RPGs?
I might say like KOTOR.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's talking about contemporary. I think obviously
right.
there are examples, and like Mass Effect is KOTOR without the license. Basically,
RPGs were like a dirty word for a long time.
Yep.
Like it wasn't until games like Oblivion came around that like mainstreamed them in a way that they hadn't ever been. Like there were D&D extensions, right? And
totally.
So
they were for specific people off to the side that wanted to play those types of games, and they weren't always that popular. Yeah.
I would guess that Cyberpunk 2077 might sort of scratch that itch. I don't know that it'll be a space game necessarily, but it's definitely going to be a future RPG.
Yeah. I'd hope that that's...
It's been really crazy, like as an aside, watching people react to Mass Effect Andromeda in a post-Witcher 3 world.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like Witcher 3 like rewrote the book on sprawling, story-driven RPGs.
Yeah.
And seeing what they've done with Mass Effect in the wake of that has not been
But I think like part of it is probably just like it's very expensive to make a big a game that captures the true scope of what you want out of like a space opera. Those are very expensive to make, and there aren't there's not an infinite number of teams out there that are that size and can make that game.
Yeah, like
even Witcher size. I mean, I'm sure the team that worked on Witcher 3 is probably way smaller than the number of people that touched Mass Effect. If I had to guess. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
From the scuttlebutt I've heard that they seem like they might not be that different, but who knows?
Either way, those are still big teams in the grand scheme of things. And
if you're going to make an RPG game, it's probably safer to go down the fantasy route than it is to,
I guess.
Or at least historically maybe. Just it's a little bit closer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any like space opera games in any genre. I mean, aside from like Galactic Civilizations or Homeworld or something more RTS, tactically focused. Or whatever.
It is like content expensive as well when you think about it, because like you're literally creating multiple worlds. Like you can't have that sort of repetition of
like you understand why a game like Mass Effect might only have 5 or 6 things to go on to, because like that's fucking it's expensive to make.
Yeah, as you go down the No Man's Sky route of having it all procedural. Then you can't really do that in an RPG. It needs to be quite like delicately
placed.
I
mean, and I don't know that it would be great, but if you think about like the generated quest system in Skyrim,
right,
where it would just kind of feed you up some stuff constantly. And granted, most of that stuff was not great, but the idea is there. You could start procedurally generating parts of these games, not the whole thing. You craft your planets, but then be like, hey, there's 1,000 more planets for you to land on. and there will be things there. I would at least like to see someone give that a shot.
Or do the Zelda route of having the story, like there's a story happening, but there's also this like you're making your own story. Like they give you enough of the world and enough tools that like the story that's happening is kind of your own story.
And I think that stuff is only worth doing in Zelda because all that stuff is so unique. Like everything you find feels worthwhile.
I guess, but even like just finding areas, I think just uncovering mechanics in that game is the story. Like, I can roll bombs down a hill in this situation, and then it's like I don't know.
But then it becomes like, okay, now you need to make sure that there are situations in the game where that is useful.
Oh yeah,
and so then you're like, okay, do we need to custom craft parts of this landscape specifically around these tactics?
Yeah,
yes or no,
which they definitely do.
Or
you can feel
right, and that. I think you run into the same. I think there are a few companies in the position of a Nintendo where they can go all in on something that hard, and have it pay off. But yeah,
more space operas, please.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
done with that.
I would love to see more stuff like that.
I miss KOTOR even.
Those
games were great.
I was never a Star Wars fan, so I never.
Man,
yeah, kind of.
First KOTOR was like mind blowing when that thing came out.
Yeah, I replayed it like 2 years ago on a Mac.
Yeah.
Doesn't hold up
No?
very well, but it's still, I mean, the writing in that's still fantastic.
Yeah.
And speaking as a Star Wars fan, but also just objectively, I think it's pretty good writing.
Yeah. Last Mass Effect email. From, Yes, there you go.
Sorry.
From Ryan in Louisiana. After watching the quick look, I have to ask, is Andromeda the torque to the original Mass Effect games, Fast and the Furious?
Jesus.
Kind of, yeah, that's kind of the feeling I got off it, except I liked Torque. So...
You like Torque ironically, though? Or
yeah, maybe.
Do you like Fast and the Furious? All right.
Have
you seen the trailer for the new one?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't know, man. Like it's
Every
they're
car.
just making a different thing now.
Dawn of the Dead with
but
cars.
but also that. Yeah. Sure.
Sorry.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Email from Jack. Greetings from Singapore.
Ooh.
Just wanted to get your opinion on how likely it is the Switch will not get a hardware revision. Not too sure about Nintendo consoles before the Wii and Wii U, but both of those, if I recall correctly, did not get a hardware revision throughout their entire product cycle.
That Canadian Wii.
The Wii got an upgrade.
The Wii?
Yeah.
Or so he says
Motion
with the
Plus.
yes, but that's he says with the exception of the Motion Plus Wiimotes, maybe there will be Motion Plus Joy-Cons to come. But he's talking specifically because we mentioned last week whether basically a lot of people seem to be looking at this from the Nintendo handheld historical perspective of like DS turned into DS Lite, turned into DSi, like 3DS got its multiple permutations, so people seem to be expecting that out of the Switch. But yeah, maybe Nintendo sees it more as a console than as a handheld.
It's I think they need to not look at it as either. They need to just kind of treat it as its own thing and see where it takes them. You know, if they sell enough of them, but also feel like they're reaching a power wall, and also like more powerful tech becomes available to them at that price point, I think it might make sense for them to do an upgrade like they did with the new 3DS.
Yeah.
Except that they never really took advantage of that.
They have been the worst about using extra power that they put into new
but
stuff.
At this point, you know, like the stuff they're using is relatively off the shelfish in a way that maybe they could just automatically get a frame rate benefit on something like Zelda if they... Or put out a revision.
Or better power efficiency, if nothing else.
Right, yeah.
Better battery life, maybe.
Yeah, I think that there's room for them to do stuff, and I think there's also room for them to, like, if they wanted to do different Joy-Cons.
Yeah, because that thing is so modular, it's easy to customize and just focus on specific
here's
things.
a better version of these controllers that, you know, is more comfortable to hold, or, you know, there's stuff they can do
now.
there. Yeah. Or it could just be as simple as, like, we put out some green ones for St. Patty's Day.
Sure. God,
because they would probably say it that way. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I know, but they... I think the door is open for them to do it, but they would
not now.
Not now. That's
they already got over the confusion of the Wii U thing.
They're way too early. It's way too early to even be thinking that. And if with them upping their forecast numbers, like I had thought, like, oh, the launch is so thin. Are we going to see like some kind of ambassador program? Are they going to have to like give people free games and cut the price and all this other stuff? But it's selling fine, so I don't think that they'll.
Yeah, I mean, Reggie was in that Time interview last week, like literally saying it's the fastest selling console in their history.
And I bet people are buying a bunch of really mediocre games just to have games on it. Like, I mean, I have 1-2 Switch. I have that Bomberman game, which is not a wonderful Bomberman game.
Bad game.
I mean, even the Wipeout game is like fine. Whatever, Fast or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's like fine. It's, you know.
Yeah, the game's
like,
all right.
Yeah. Like, I probably would have bought it if it was like
Yeah, definitely not.
40 games on it I could pick from, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of behooves them in a way.
You got a lot of Neo Geo games there, though.
Yeah, sorry.
5
it just
of them
appeared.
now. Yeah.
I don't know what they are. They also don't title them unless you go in. So I was like, I don't know this screenshot.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Really?
I know what they are.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Neo Geo.
Neither could I. I probably wouldn't even recognize a lot of the names.
Right.
But there's some of them where I'm like, I don't know which Metal Slug this is by the screenshot, but I know it's Metal Slug.
Oh, crap.
And you go in and say, oh, it's 3.
I have an SNK email. Now I need to find it because you're already talking about it.
All right.
Like they're going to have to do a hardware version eventually, right? But it's just whether or not it is a new thing or it is
or do they make a smaller one, or do they make a bigger screen, or do they,
a Switch Advance?
Yeah. What if they
like a little
micro
maybe,
Switch?
yeah.
What if you're just like, really go blind, really fuck your shit up.
I dropped the Switch.
Did you?
On my face.
What?
Oh, you
like
fell
in
asleep
bed?
playing it? Yeah.
No, Nice. It was like early in the morning, and I was playing it above me like an idiot. It hurts a lot more than my phone.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I bet. It seems like it would.
Yeah.
You should do a Microsoft Surface and just compare all 3.
Yeah. Which one broke my nose quickest?
Yeah.
All right. Email from Sang in Pennsylvania. I wanted to get your insight on how SNK is handling their back catalog lately.
Yeah.
For instance, Garou Mark of the Wolves was released in December with the PSN version worked on by Code Mystics and the Steam version by .emu. Metal Slug 3's recent re-releases have been worked on by .emu for Steam, Code Mystics for PSN, and Hamster for the Switch as part of the Arcade Archives line. Is it just SNK giving their okay to those companies to emulate and release those games on those certain platforms, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably it. I mean, in some cases, it's like, well, Mark of the Wolves is a high enough profile game with a certain number of people that it makes sense to do the extra work to put in online functionality. So it got released separately, not part of any weird line.
Right.
All the stuff that Hamster puts out has 0 online stuff. It is just, here's this emulated video game, exact same menu framework around it, all this other stuff. That's a case where they're probably just plugging in ROMs and saying go.
That's the Switch stuff, right?
The Neo Geo stuff on Switch, and then they also put it out on PS4.
Right.
And then .emu, I think they're doing separate deals, and they're putting in online play and some of that stuff, not all of it, and it's very scattershot.
Yeah.
Also on top of that, SNK is putting out some of its PS2 games on PS4, and those PS2 games are emulated Neo Geo games. So you have a case where like there's an ADK collection that came out on PS2 in Japan. It's 4 games, and then now SNK is selling that on PS4. So it's an emulation of an emulation, and so it just seems like SNK, like they ditched the pachinko thing, and they're like, fuck it, the future is now. We're back. Here's our logo. Also, all our games everywhere by everyone. I don't know. Do you want to put our games out somewhere? Are you willing to do the work? Let's talk. It just seems like they're not turning anyone down.
I mean, they said they were coming back to games, right? Like, didn't the gambling laws over there kind of force them?
That seemed like maybe that was part of it.
Yeah.
Pachinko laws maybe it changed in a way that made it less lucrative to focus on the stuff that they were focusing on.
So are Konami coming back?
Fuck no. They have health clubs and all this other stuff and all this other...
That's what I should do when I'm in. All right.
I guess they're into...
God, I guess Metal Gear Survive will come out this year, right?
Bomberman was them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Had a Konami logo on it.
Yeah. So they still make video games.
Forgot they bought them.
Yeah. That's maybe sad as well.
Yeah, totally.
Having that catalog locked up.
Just disappear, for sure.
I don't know. SNK is all over the place, and in some ways that's glorious because then you're just like loading up stores and seeing like, oh, Neo Turf Masters is available here for $8. That's stupid. I'll happily, yes, of course I will happily pay them that money for that. They've earned it. But at some point, like it's so disjointed and so strange, and like what has online, what doesn't. Like it's just kind of confusing and very scattershot. So I wish that stuff was tighter. I have not been buying most of the Hamster Neo Geo releases because they don't have online, and like they're all fighting games. And it's like I would rather wait for a version that has good online or something. It's weird.
I'm kind of interested in new Metal Slug.
I would potentially be interested in a new Metal Slug. I don't know. It's the ones they made once they stopped supporting the Neo Geo hardware were not great.
Right.
Once they started like, oh, here's a GBA one, or here's some new thing we're doing for this, and like, I don't know.
James from Memphis.
Hello, James.
Seems like every game nowadays forces you to have to hold a button down to confirm an action instead of just hitting the button. I first noticed it in Destiny, but it seems like almost every game ever has adapted this. What is the reasoning behind it, and do you prefer it this way?
For Honor's menu makes you do it. The tutorial. Like, hold circle. You break away or whatever over and over again.
Mass Effect makes you hold to talk to people.
Yeah. I have no idea where that came from.
There's an accessibility issue there, I know, in that, like, for instance, Uncharted had that accessibility thing where you could hold instead of doing the tap, tap, tap for some of the QTs. Because folks who have, like, muscular dystrophy or stuff like that, or slower access. So perhaps that's got something to do with it.
It's also just from, like, a mechanical standpoint, in Destiny specifically, reload and action are the same button. So I think maybe in some cases people accidentally started a cutscene or something when they meant to reload. And then I remember in GTA Online, I think reload and melee were the same thing right at the beginning. So I'd be playing with my buds and I'd press B to reload, but I would just pistol whip them in the back of the head and kill them.
Nice.
Because it would just magnetize me to them.
Yeah, they had it coming.
I wonder if it came out of mobile. Like, I feel like tap and hold is like a more common.
I think it's just
thing
they
on
probably
mobile.
just saw
It
a lot
got
of
adapted.
accidental button presses like that and said,
maybe.
"Here's a way around that."
right.
But then it just kind of became a trend, and now
Now
games
just
that
everybody
probably
just-
don't need it have it.
People just do it without knowing why.
Yeah, like the Destiny menu stuff
Yeah.
of just using that menu like you had a mouse when you don't have a mouse.
Yeah. I don't mind it.
It seems like it would have been faster built a different way. Like it just felt very slow, especially when you're mid-fight.
It does free them up from having to design a menu where a cursor moves naturally around.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah.
Because if you just move anywhere, then yeah.
But it also led to like people using mobile apps and third-party plugins to manage their inventory outside of game because the in-game stuff was not fast enough.
It's a good point, though. Used to just be like skipping cutscenes.
Yeah.
Holding.
James from Brisbane. I've been playing a lot of Disc Jam lately, and the speed of the gameplay and obviously the view reminds me of tennis games. Whatever happened to tennis games? Do you think there's any chance we'll see a new one anytime soon?
I got what did I download? Mario's Tennis 64, I guess.
Yeah.
I got that. That's
You don't need any
pretty
other
good
ones.
one. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
you're done.
How about some Virtua Tennis?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some little virtual tennis.
I would like some
Baby
more.
Mario.
Speaking of holding them buttons, like those games were all about like
Right, yeah,
charge
get in
and
line,
that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
A and B at the same time was that pink spike, especially if you're Baby
Right.
Mario and he could hop like 6 feet in the air.
Yeah.
He's
They
the
did a
best.
bad job of that one on the Wii U, didn't they? That was not great.
Yeah.
Never played it.
Well, they
lost a lot of
So
modes
it's
in
hard.
that, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. Wii Tennis.
And then
Wii Sports Tennis?
well, yeah, there's that. There's the VR Sports Tennis that came out at the was that the Vive launch or was that the Oculus? That was the Oculus
Is that good?
launch.
I haven't
It's
played
on
that.
PlayStation VR. It's actually good. Yeah,
Oh.
it's neat. But it's a multiplayer only game. I mean, well,
Right.
you would only really want to play it with other people, so it's kind of unless other people are playing it,
Mm.
I wouldn't recommend it. But
Yeah, it hasn't been a good tennis game in a while.
no, there's
Like,
not.
None of
I think it's
official ones.
It ended up with boxing. Like it was just like here's
Right.
sports games that people kind of stop buying, or the sports games that don't need to exist on an annual basis because
Yeah.
they don't change that much year to year, and so
And they don't have the mass
Oh,
appeal of
what do
something
you-
like football or soccer
right,
to
yeah,
last it. Yeah.
The roster is half the appeal.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like tennis doesn't change all that much if you're on like that's one of those sports like golf where you've got people with incredibly long careers,
right,
dominancy. So I mean, literally Federer and Nadal were playing a couple of days ago. Like it's
Right.
same old, same old.
Mm.
Here's an email from a different James.
Hello,
I
different
I
James.
assume.
Hey James,
I don't actually know if
Different
thanks for
James.
emailing again, James.
I don't know. Maybe he went and made a dummy account and sent another
Mm.
email.
It's a very unique name.
I was wondering what your take is on the recent discussion of right-to-repair bills that intend to give consumers and third parties more freedom in repairing their own game consoles. I'm sure there is a reasonable compromise that should allow manufacturers to protect their trade secrets and also allow some level of tinkering.
I agree. I think that should be allowed. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys know about that stuff?
I do not. Are there punishments to opening the
It's
consoles?
not
or do you-
punishment so much as
losing your
as
warranty?
Voids
or-
your warranty.
there is legislation being discussed. I don't even know if it's gotten to that point yet. Maybe it's just more theoretical than any like actual bills being drafted or anything yet. But basically, it's kind of the Apple model of everything is very sealed up,
sorry.
and like
Yes.
manuals and parts are not available, and like just the information and the materials are not out there to actually service this stuff yourself, or even for like mom and pop shops to open up as like a local unauthorized repair.
Yeah,
Oh,
so it ends
right.
up being
Facility.
like the concept of authorized repair and who is authorized to do the repairs and all that sort of stuff.
Like practically, what it leads to is if your console breaks, you have to send it in to the manufacturer
Right.
to get it fixed, which often they can, they can charge a good portion of the cost of a new console.
Yeah.
It's uncompetitive, I guess.
yes,
and
yes.
monopoly
and I
away.
think that part of the reason that when we were talking about it a couple weeks ago, it seemed like the ESA had come out on the side of the game industry,
Right.
of saying like,
Wow.
no, absolutely not,
Really? Imagine that.
don't do this. And a lot of that seemed to be, or if I had to guess why they would be so opposed to it, it also has to do with the idea of like to truly open this stuff up, you are then allowing users to like roll back firmware and do a lot of stuff that would lead to security issues. But yeah, there has to be a middle ground, I think, on this that can make sense or something.
Yeah.
You know, and the middle ground is like, hey, if you wanted to do shady repairs of an Xbox 360,
Right.
There were people out there doing that work.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. Back in the newspaper.
right.
Find that.
Yeah.
little-
Well, I
Got
wonder.
a red ring? We got you back.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
person will chip your Xbox. For
Yeah,
you as well.
yeah. You'll get a little bonus in there when they little JTAG while you're at it. Yeah.
I wonder if
We'll
ideally.
fix your laser.
Yeah, we fixed this stuff. It's fixed. It's working great now. You should see how well.
You
it
should see what
works.
it plays.
Man.
Wow.
Ideally, you would think this would be seeking some protections that would let you open stuff up without voiding your warranty,
Yeah.
potentially. Because right now, like, yes, you could go get your DVD drive replaced in your 360,
Right,
but then
but-
you were immediately out of warranty if you
Yeah.
did that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that had more to do with people like breaking it accidentally and then because like that's a whole thing of like I didn't open it, it broke on its own or it came that way. Whereas once like you've opened the hood, it's like you can just pull out a wire and then say, oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
get
that's
it
true.
replaced.
that is true.
That's why people were wrapping towels around their Xboxes and stuff like that to,
Right.
you know, fix it, unfix it, to make sure it red
That
ringed.
worked for
because-
me.
Yeah.
God, how many of those I sent back.
That worked for me. The 360 I have in my apartment here in San Francisco is the one we got on launch day.
Wow.
And
Jeez,
the PS3 that I
man.
have here, it was the Slim. I didn't get the PS3 until like 3 years after they released.
Yeah.
And it just sounded like it was eating my discs every time I put them in. So it was just awful grinding noise, and I didn't have a lot of money to spend on games back then. So at the time, I didn't know there's a warranty; it would void the warranty. So I
Yeah.
opened up the back, and the disc drive itself, there's a dent in the top, so it was grinding against the top of the disc. So I put like a screwdriver in and kind of pushed it up like you might on a car when you're like taking dents out.
Hammering a dent out.
And it works. And now I just played something like I played
Wow.
Castlevania. I played Symphony of the Night on the disc the other day.
Yeah.
I have to get my Xbox 360 to open my poor Xbox 360, which was sent back numerous times. The faceplate is completely removed. It looks like a skeleton.
Yeah.
And I have to wedge a knife in there while hammering the eject
Yeah.
button to get it to open.
Nice.
Good
Oh, it's a
stuff.
nightmare.
Awful. And it's PAL, so I have
Oh,
to get
well,
it to
that-
work
yeah.
because
Yeah.
otherwise none of my like massive amount of games. Although did I tell you I got all of Justin Calvert's Xbox 360
Yeah.
games?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
How
maybe
many
you're
was
set
that?
now.
He moved to LA and he turned up with like 2 trash bags full of them,
Jesus.
which
Wow.
I hid from my wife.
Were those also PAL?
No, they're in TSC.
okay.
So, but I don't know if it actually just reminded me I don't actually have a way of playing any of those games. Looks like I'm eBaying a 360.
What does a new 360 cost at this point?
You used to buy them? I guess
Yeah,
PS3's just stopped. So
I assume, yeah.
like 150 bucks.
I bet it's like
I bet it's more.
like $200.
Yeah,
I bet it's
I
like
bet-
$200
Like
for a
VCR
brand
players.
new
Um,
Xbox 360.
Nah.
Which one would it be?
Brand
Now? Would
new,
it be like
maybe?
It'd be the E, the third
Yeah.
model they made.
Yeah,
Right.
199 for the 500 gigabyte.
Wow.
500 gigs?
With Forza Horizon
Sick.
Oh well.
2 in this bundle.
This one that looks
amazing.
kind of like an hourglass from the front, isn't it?
Weird
shape.
That was the third version. It was
Oh.
it was
It was
the
the one
more,
that it came out alongside or around the time that they had already announced the Xbox One, so
So
it
it
was
looks
kind
quite
of
similar.
looked a
Oh,
little bit
yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
it looks more like an Xbox One.
Damn. Maybe I haven't even seen them.
I bought one. I don't know why, because I was like, oh well, they're not going to send these out, so we should get one and take pictures of it.
Oh no.
And it's like, what the? We don't cover hard. Who the fuck cares? Like, oh, I'm just an asshole. I just want to see what the new Xbox looks like. And I went and got one, and that's the one that I have in use,
All right.
or hooked up still today.
I still
You're
use,
looking for an Xbox 360? I might have
Right.
7 or so.
I still use
Still
my
on
360 as a DVD player, and like that thing just
Oh,
feels
really?
archaic at this
Yeah.
point.
Wow.
Like that interface feels so
Wait, you have a DVD player?
so dated.
No, he uses it.
I uses
as
it
a
as a
DVD
yeah.
player.
DVD player.
You play DVDs?
Once in a while.
All right.
I used
Once in a blue moon.
my 360 for Dead Space 2 recently.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a
That's
good.
about it.
That's
'Cause I
a
think the
good
first
use.
one is Xbox One backwards compatible. They
Yes.
haven't
Right.
gotten the second.
Oh,
one
the
yet.
second one's
right.
not yet.
Not yet. From what if it is, then I just busted my 360 out for no reason.
I was just looking at my copy of Dead Space a couple days ago, thinking
fantastic.
I wonder.
Talking about space opera.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's about RPG.
Space
That's more
horror.
hard
Yeah.
science fiction or whatever
Yeah.
you want to get into those subgenres. I don't know. We're doing like a video of one of our shows on Mass Effect Andromeda, but also sci-fi in general. So I've been reading way too much about like the history of science fiction.
Right.
Pretty interesting, but
Looking forward to it. Check it on GameSpot.com.
I will.
There you go.
Jesse from Norway.
Up,
Can
Jesse.
you recommend a game where it appears to be a typical power fantasy, but turns out that your character is not the center of all things after all? I was thinking of The Witcher 3 and looking for something that does this in an even more pronounced manner.
I was about to say Spec Ops, but that's not where that went.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm playing something right now that was like that actually.
I can't think of anything off the top of the head.
Mm.
No.
I guess
was
it's
gonna
kinda like-
Sleepwalker, because your character's the main completes the game, and you're just the dog doing the stuff. And
Narrative-wise, I'm thinking BioShock, but that's because I've recently played it.
Right.
It's a little more dated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a homework.
Yeah.
I
would almost say does MGS2 kind of fit this?
Yeah.
Like sort of, maybe not.
Yeah, like
he's not really specific if he means gameplay or story.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways doesn't feel like a power fantasy to me as much as older Zelda games did. When you get this item that just kind of allows you to traverse something in a kind of dumb way.
Right.
But
yeah.
Or at least now it's like a survival. You have to be resourceful.
Yeah. At least you kind of have to struggle your way toward feeling more powerful. Because you feel pretty disempowered at the beginning of that.
I mean, we talked about earlier, we had different experiences, but I felt that way with Mass Effect. I didn't feel like Shepard to me was like, I thought this is all about like everyone else's shit.
Yeah.
Like the elusive man and like individual characters. But
that's why
But you never finished Mass Effect 3, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There is that.
They really hammer that fucking nail home by the end of that shit of who matters the most.
I feel like Shepard like kind of earns it at least. Though, you know, like he starts off as just a dude, and then he becomes a Spectre because of something he did. Right, and like it's kind of a big deal. It's like, oh, you did that. Okay, fine, you can have this rank. Like the Pathfinder stuff in the new one is so contrived. Holy crap! Like
royalty, right?
My dad gave it to me. Like,
what? You were literally treated as like the savior of the Andromeda Galaxy for no particular because you have a computer in your head. I gather is why.
Yeah, but they don't really make that as whatever. Yep.
Even
I don't want to talk about the game anymore.
Even your character seems confused as to why he or she is the chosen one in that game.
That was the closest attachment I felt was the confusion between myself and Ryder.
If they leaned in, like if they leaned into that could be an interesting angle, you know. Like if they really went all the way with like I have been entrusted with this power that I don't think I deserve. Like what do I do with it?
Then they've got dialogue choices that like the choice on screen is written in such a way, and then the response is like Ryder being super snide about being the Pathfinder. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, you suck.
Yeah.
Or you were indoctrinated before you left.
Okay, all right. Now, Sam is.
It just turns out you're the only one that can activate any of this ancient alien tech. Like,
the computer is the Reaper.
Who would have thought?
In your head.
I keep hoping for something like that. That's half the reason I'm still playing through it is because I keep hoping something like that will happen.
Switch a little.
It's like the Focus in Horizon. Chip.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see.
Nobby Boy. It was all about girl.
It's a good point.
It's true.
Yeah. That's where the real power lies.
Let's a couple more emails. Spencer from New York City. The Last Guardian came out, and Half-Life 3 is a joke that will never happen. Deep Down has been in development for 5+ years, and Capcom just refiled for a trademark extension about a month ago, signaling that there's still probably some vague interest internally. Is Deep Down the new vaporware?
It's not popular enough, or
we
haven't seen enough of it.
I feel like there aren't enough people out there going like, Deep Down, you know, like the.
I can't even remember the last time I thought about that game. I was super excited for it.
If you go back and look at that trailer now, that like gameplay from like Dark Souls 3 looks as good as that now.
Really?
Sure. Yeah. I went back a couple of months back and watched it. I was like, oh, okay.
It sounded like a cool idea when they first announced it.
I think Capcom has just been in such a weird space lately, and Street Fighter and kind of Resident Evil, you know, whether the way 6 kind of left them and what they did with 7, you know, like they're struggling to find it, I think, in a lot of ways, and they're having some success lately. But I still think Capcom is a company in need of or in the middle of transition. I can't decide which.
When didn't they announce Deep Down at the PS4 reveal?
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason anybody remembers that game, is because that was the game they trotted out when they.
Yeah, and I want to say they had Ono out there talking about it, didn't they?
Yeah,
he was the one alongside it, which is that's strange.
That's like 4 years ago now.
Yeah, but like so much has happened between now and then, it's hard to even say. I mean, they refiled the trademark, and maybe they've got some vague interest in making it happen, but I don't know.
They feel like a company is really like laying the track ahead of the train. Like, I just don't feel like they really have much of a 5-year plan.
Yeah, I mean that's. I think that they are in a similar situation to where Sega has been in the past and that sort of stuff, where like the industry changed around them and they suddenly were like, oh man, what are we doing again? And like, I don't know. It felt like they had at least a couple of stabs out in that direction with games that were not amazing, but you know, like it's like stuff like Dark Void. Like when they were developing games here, it felt like they had more of a concept of just like, okay, we need to be bigger than what we think of as classic Capcom,
like
in
Dead
order
Rising
to make
stuff
it.
and
And then now Dead Rising is kind of the only thing left of that era of just like, hey, we're making this game in Canada. Isn't that weird? Like, yes, it kind of it actually is, but great. Yeah, I don't know. Capcom felt like it was a lot more on it maybe 5 years ago or something now. And now it's just, I don't know. Maybe they just had too many games that didn't hit for them, and now they're just kind of like panicky, or maybe panicky is not the word, but
what were they even doing 5 years ago?
I feel like Dead Rising 2.
I feel like,
I guess
maybe,
maybe we're talking
like,
more like 8 years ago or something now.
I feel like the PS2 GameCube era was when they kind of hit their peak.
Yeah,
remake Resident Evil 0.
It's been kind of somewhat. Well, I mean,
Beautiful Joe.
Dead Rising.
Like there was a time when
what was those,
the
those
Capcom
4
5
games,
or
5 games.
First Lost Planet was cool. I'm trying to think like what happened on the PS3 and 360.
Was it Dark Fortnite?
That was cool.
Street Fighter
Big
4.
Devil.
Yeah,
Street
you're right.
Fighter
You're right.
4
That was still
still
good Capcom territory.
Yeah,
at that time.
And Dead Rising was great. First 2 anyway.
Yeah, you're right. It's been kind of a slow decline though.
I just think they're in a weird spot trying to find out what that company is, and I think that also the part you probably aren't seeing is that they have mobile stuff that comes out, in Japan and other territories and stuff like that. And, that probably does okay for them.
Like that Mega Man collection.
They like that one. Yeah, it's a real
got
hit.
it this time.
Real hit. Yeah.
When's that Street Fighter game coming out on Switch?
That's not right.
Is
That's
it
April.
May or something?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
April or something. Yeah.
Soon enough.
April or May.
You should know that.
Yeah.
I don't have a Switch yet.
Yeah, good point.
I played a bit of it. It's
That's some HD remix, huh?
yeah, with a couple of new characters.
Is Ken more violenter?
He's super violent. He's got different color flames coming
Oh
off
my
him.
God.
He can
Whoa.
teleport.
Oh my God.
That's violent.
These are the final challengers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says so on the box, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's got that first person mode.
That kind of looks
Jason's excited.
really, really broken. It, like, doesn't work very well, but kind of cool as well.
You're like
I'll
my
try that
barometer
out.
for how I should give a shit about fighting games.
Okay.
So you just save me some money. Thanks, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you played HD Remix, which is a fucking fantastic game.
I think I was the one that had my PSP. No.
No, I don't think that
What was
came
that?
yet.
Hyper Fighting was on PSP, maybe.
Probably, at some
PSP,
point.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
All right. Paul from Birmingham, England.
Brummy.
Yeah?
Yeah. Birmingham.
Letting that 25% shine through. Yeah.
As someone deep in the research process for a new surround sound setup, I was wondering what you guys have at home in terms of speaker setups and whether you have any advice for me. I'm currently debating whether I have space for separates and an amp for a proper 5.1 setup, or if I go the soundbar route for my small-ish living room.
Yeah.
My primary use case will be playing games, as I don't watch a lot of movies. I was also wondering if you can comment on whether the audio quality of modern games justifies expensive speakers. How compressed does audio tend to be? How good are sound or surround effects, etc.?
I've been out of the surround sound game for quite a while.
Yeah.
Actually, because we moved around so much.
Yeah.
It's like,
So
you
at
need to
some point you
have
wanna
your
set it
speakers
all
like
up.
installed in
Yeah.
specific spots.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need to be in a specific spot in your living room to really make use of this. And then you got to deal with the center channel, like in movies. And
I never got in that game for the exact same reason.
It's kind of a pain in the ass.
I
So
put it
right
all-
now we're just
yeah.
rocking a sound bar, and it's a Vizio one. We got it refurbed. It was like $100.
Yeah.
It works pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with
I was
it.
playing games in my bedroom a lot, and I put a 5.1 system in there and upgraded it a little bit here and there. Like, oh, maybe I get some bigger speakers or whatever, and had to get a new receiver when that blew up. And, so I kind of kept up with it for a little bit, but I don't play video games in there anymore. I kind of built a separate room. So now it's like, okay, what am I going to do in this room? Should I put up speakers? Like, the right answer is probably I should. But also, what if I just got a fucking big-ass sub?
Yeah.
Like, all I really want is just, like, some booming fucking bass, so...
Get yourself a good fucking headset. Get yourself a good wireless headset.
Nah.
You're not into that?
No,
I'm
I can't.
totally
I
into
can't.
it.
I can't. I hate headphones.
Don't even need wireless anymore. You just plug it in the
Yeah.
controller.
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah,
just-
I
I
mean,
do that
then
all-
you're dealing with just stereo sound, unless you get like, the Sony wireless ones that like, virtually simulates.
I ended up with a
stuff.
pair of those, and like they're neat.
Yeah.
But I just don't really like wearing headphones.
I love wearing it.
Yeah.
If you get yourself a really good, comfortable pair, fucking A.
I want some shit that rattles the house.
It will rattle your head.
I want some shit that like is
rattle
gonna.
your, rattle your
I
young
need. I
baby
want to
out
put
of
Dynamat on my parts of my car because the shit is rattling apart from the bass.
We have a downstairs neighbor. He's got a really good sound system. We can feel
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah.
And he likes to use that, and everything fucking shakes in our house.
Yeah. See, I have no shared walls, so like
Sure.
I want to ruin. I want to open my window and ruin someone's day though.
There you go.
Like
You
that's still me.
You want to earn your noise complaints.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I am just using the speakers on that TV now, and that's actually totally fine. But I have a sound bar in my living room, which is okay. But also, I don't really watch much TV out there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I recommend a soundbar for easy use. But
you kind of get what you pay for. If you want to go all the way, there's a benefit to it. But it's
apparently the cheap ones are not super.
Yeah.
They're like.
Well, at one point I just bought some complete box system. Just walked into a Best Buy because they were having a sale on something. It was like, here's $250. Give me 7 speakers and a receiver. Let's go. And it was better than what I had.
Yeah.
And it got me, like I did the install. I got all the stuff set up and was like, okay, cool. And then from there it was just a matter of like, okay, am I gonna what am I gonna upgrade stuff? Am I gonna do this? And now with now that 4K is involved, now you need a receiver that handles 4K,
right?
And HDR. It needs to be able to pass all that stuff through. Yeah. So once you go up that route, you kind of have to do the rest, and that sort of sucks.
TV's got messy.
Yeah, like I had my PS4 plugged into an HDMI splitter for easy use for an Elgato and all that other stuff. That thing only goes to 1080, so I had to take all that stuff out of the chain.
They make 4K.
They do, yeah. So it's a matter of like now I need to get all new equipment for this stuff, and that's frustrating.
Right.
My TV has 4 HDMI ports on it. The sound is good enough. I might be okay with what I got. I don't know,
but it could be that much better with the cheap edition of a pretty good sound bar.
I think it might actually. I think the TV might actually have ports in it specifically for a sub.
Oh, yeah.
So I might just like do that.
I've heard a combo of the two is like the way to go.
Yeah,
like
so I have a sound bar with a sub.
Yeah,
that's
and that's just kind of
it's fine,
good enough. Yeah,
I like a pair of good freestanding floor speakers. That's what I've got.
Right, so you can hear the jets go over when you watch Top Gun.
Yeah, just straight stereo. Don't need no surround. Plus, you can put stuff on top of the speakers. Just like little shelves.
Sure.
At the same time, got a plant on one of them.
There is something
clock
nice
on the other
one. I don't think most games take advantage of it, and it doesn't matter. I think you could make the case of like, hey, if you're getting way into like competitive shooters and stuff like that, being able to definitely hear when shit is behind you, kind of useful.
Horror games.
Totally. Yeah,
Resident Evil 7
games,
felt like
sure.
that, but again, that's in VR.
Yeah.
Just wear headphones.
Yeah, you can't use speakers in VR because your orientation changes all the time.
Yeah. All right, Josh from Tulsa, last email. This email is entitled Civil War.
All right.
A line has been drawn. It's time to choose a side. It's Data East versus Trade West.
Ooh.
On which side do you land and why?
I got to research that more.
Yeah. I had the advantage of knowing the email ahead of time, so I did that.
Okay.
I think what this really comes down to is that it's Bad Dudes versus Double Dragon.
Gotcha.
Double Dragon.
That's
the thing is, this Trade West only published Double Dragon in the U.S. They didn't. Trade West is a publisher. They didn't make nothing. Data East made shit.
Let's play a little fast and loose on this one.
Nope.
There's a science to it.
No, whatever. I don't know. Data East put out that RoboCop game in arcades, and that's really great.
Yeah. God, that game is awesome.
Data East is Windjammers. So.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm in. Data East.
Yeah.
Line drawn.
Karnov is Data East.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
Maybe it was something Trade West, so I can just.
The Trade West, they did Ivan Iron Man Stewart's Off Road.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's really good.
I'm Trade West.
Double Dragon.
They did the NES version of Double Dragon, not the actual version of Double Dragon.
Right.
And did they publish Battletoads here?
Yes.
Okay.
They also put out That's right. I looked that up. I forgot about Battletoads.
Trade West for sure. Middle fingers in the air.
I kind of want to play that RoboCop arcade game now.
It's really good.
I remember fighting Ed 209 at the end of that first level. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
First level?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just bring it right out. I don't know if I ever got past that. I mean, it's an arcade game. It's just made to eat your money.
Yeah.
Kick him in the lava.
Yeah.
You get the Cobra gun and just walk around with it and fucking.
Yeah.
So they put some sound samples on. He just goes, drop it. That's good. It's a good ass game.
Do you guys have a North and South?
No.
That's that came out on the NES, right?
Yes.
Or I mean, it came out on a bunch of stuff. I think,
Super
but-
NES.
yeah.
Strategy game?
Weird game.
Weird
like
game.
Multiple genre.
I never really understood. I have
Yeah.
seen it, but I could not. That's about all I can tell you about it.
Right.
There
Amiga.
were-
It was super fun.
There were a
weird
bunch of
game.
games back then that were like mashups of multiple
Yeah.
genres. Like, what's the medieval one? It was like super popular. God, what's the name of that game? I was going to Defender of the Crown.
Robin
Yes.
Hood.
Nice.
Yes.
I
played a lot of that game.
Yeah.
I would just, in my head, I was like, there's no way he's talking about Robin Hood, Defender of the Crown. I did play a lot of it.
That game originally didn't come out with like the Robin Hood.
Yeah, that was just
right. And then it became like on PS2, I got it, the Robin Hood, Defender of the Crown version. Yeah, you're doing like a first-person bow and arrow ambushes, and then you do 2D side-scrolling sword fighting. But then the meta game is that like checkerboard of castles.
I guess some of those old extreme sports games were kind of the same way.
Yeah, but they were
TNC and stuff like that. It's just like
it had a wood and a water rage.
Like a bunch of
yeah.
I should bring that stuff back.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a lot of weird stuff.
All right, bombcast@gmail.com. That's it for emails.
Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
No problem.
Yeah,
thanks for having me in.
Yeah,
as ever.
Thanks for coming through, you guys.
Thanks, big pleasure.
Yeah,
awesome.
Where
can people hear more about Danny O'Dwyer on the internet?
Go to No Clip Video on YouTube. We've got the Witness doc coming up next, and Spelunky. We've got a Quake 3 sort of retrospective thing going up that we actually shot when we were out with it in November.
Cool.
Tim Willis and a bunch of other people. So
I met Hugo.
You did. He mentioned
he came through here.
So we have since interviewed the two of them again.
He was in a huge hurry. So I think
we spoke to him as well. And then he said hi, and then he's going.
He actually like I didn't know who he was, and he like walked up to me and basically was like wanted to say hi because we were way into the game.
Yeah, he mentioned it when we came down.
Yeah,
we got
awesome. Exciting.
We did a bunch of interviews at GDC as well, like 10 individual ones with a bunch of different developers, and one of them is the two of them, and we had them like reviewing John Wick and Bloodborne and this other shit that they were super into that they didn't get to like talk about last time. So.
And Mike, what have you been working on? Anything people should go check out?
We started, Jake Decker and I at GameSpot, we started a new show called Reboot, and it's heavily inspired by The Point when Danny left. Kind of more editorial opinion show. It's a bi-weekly thing, more like my opinion. But in the off weeks, we do like a Q&A and like suggestions for the next episode and stuff like that. Yeah, I host the lobby on Wednesday mornings. We move that again, something Danny used to do. I'm just trying to be Danny, so I'll be at No Clip in like a year probably.
Right. Being Danny seems to have worked out well for Danny, so it's probably not the worst path to follow.
Eventually, it was a long and dark road
on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
So
Reboot's awesome, and I think the new lobby set as well is like a masterstroke.
I'm just excited to see things on that site that have brand new names that don't have the word game in the title or the word spot.
Yeah,
right.
Because on the spot, all that other stuff. Like there were years of us hosting a bunch of terrible, bad, poorly named shows. The newsletter used to be called Spotlight. It was just like all this type of dumb shit. It was just like, God,
Game Spotting.
Yeah. What else was there? God, those were terrible, weren't they?
Yeah.
Let's GameSpot.
I liked Let's GameSpot because it was just like
that's a
fuck
verb.
It. Yeah,
that doesn't even make sense.
I like that because I named that.
What does that
basically
even mean?
Is what I'm saying.
Your GameSpot, to GameSpot.
Yeah.
Ill GameSpot.
Yeah. No, that's good. Don't let anyone ever bring On the Spot back.
Under
that name.
Hey, Rooster Teeth's on that now, man.
Oh, that's right. They fucking named something that, didn't they?
Seriously?
They probably trademarked it too.
I was up there. I was up there and I said it actually, and they were like, they did not know about the GameSpot one.
Unsurprising.
Right. I was like, oh.
It was a different time.
The world has moved on.
Yes. All right. Well, now that I'm old depressed, let's end this podcast. Thanks for listening. It's been the Giant Bombcast. We'll see you next week.